evening, everyone, and welcome to the Monday, March 2nd, 2020 Conservation Commission meeting. And it is 7 p.m. First item on the agenda is for a request for determination of applicability, 218 Northwest Main Street, Mary PEPKA. So I will first read the, you didn't bring the newspaper ad with you?
I did.
Okay. I will read that ad and then you can tell us, you can come to the table if you'd like.
I'm not sure where the ad is, but it's in here.
Okay,
This
Thank
is the
you.
paper.
great.
And I also emailed a copy to a lady.
I might be able to find it faster. Okay. Okay. The Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting for Mary PEPKA on March 2nd, 2020 at 7 p.m. in the Municipal Center, 29 Depot Street, for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and the Wetland Protection Act, Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40. The proposed request for determination of applicability work location is 218 Northwest Main Street, and the applicant is requesting permission to remove some trees that are hazardous to the property, 6 to 7 pine. Okay, thank you. Name and address, please.
Mary PEPKA, 198 Packagug Street, Auburn, Mass.
Okay, and
I can't get on the internet to show the orthos,
There you go.
but I got pictures and videos.
did you mark the trees in the field?
Well, we put stuff around them,
Put
and
around
he's
them,
got a video.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's, I met her out there, let me do the video, I'm gonna walk around, it's probably the best.
Needs a new roof already.
Okay.
Well, this is, I'll do the one when we both went out.
Which water body is it?
So this is, WHITIN Reservoir,
Yep.
across from, everyone knows where Douglas Hill Way is.
Mm-hmm.
If you go over the dam, if you're coming up West Street and you go over the dam, that's Northwest Main.
Yep.
And then there's a subdivision a mile left. There's a big hill that goes up to the left. This is about a mile on the right on the res.
Okay.
It's an old camp, kind of goes down. So this is a picture of what the camp looks like. The camp is outside. I'm outside the 100-foot jurisdiction. She requested to take 6 trees down. You can see one of them marked. So this is going to be one here, Mary.
Yep.
One here. A couple of these small ones
Yep.
here. You see, I got a picture of the roof after. They're just destroying the house.
Debris falling down.
And so those three, and also, so I'll
They're
stop.
pretty close, yeah.
Those there, not these in the back, but I think this tree here.
Yep.
I'm not sure if you asked for this one on the left or not. This one here.
Yep.
And if you can, I'll pan it later, and you have this split oak over here. So I think she wants to take, yeah, this group right here.
7 total.
6, well, she's put 6, but I think it's probably 6 large ones and probably a couple of smaller ones with
Yeah.
what's in that other cluster.
Yeah, the whole thing is getting moldy, it's got no shade, and it really ruined the roof.
So this one I believe is staying. This one's definitely staying. This-
Yeah,
on the bank.
I'm on our dock right now.
Okay.
Closer to the water.
Those are all staying.
Yeah, nothing on the water.
So how far away from the bank are the trees?
Yeah, so
Did we get a plan for this?
we didn't get a, she didn't have a plan, no.
the description of,
Just the
Request?
descriptions, yeah. You know, I went out, we measured it, but I can't find the house right there, so the two closest ones here were about 35, 40 feet. This is about, I had the tape right here. So this one here is about 35 feet, that's the closest one. And then the other ones were about 50 feet out. And then the beginning of the house, the other end of the house is 100 feet.
What side of the house are those on? North, west, south, east?
Well, I think I wish I could plug in my, it's not working, but this is, I'm on Northwest Main, so this is the east side of the house. West side.
Are any of them dead?
I don't think so.
So, your main reason for wanting to remove the trees is,
I think they're gonna fall into the house, and there's no shade, it rotted the roof. The mold on the side of the house, I've got to replace all the siding and the roof.
so if they do die or go bad or get
Yeah.
blown over.
Well, and pine trees like that will drop
Yeah,
branches.
pine trees
off.
have no roots, and they're really tall. He said they're at the life, the end of their life.
They're very tall.
They're full grown. So, kind of scary.
Is this a new purchase?
No, my husband died last year, so I've taken over camp. He didn't want to change anything, and I understand that.
okay, so the closest tree to be taken down from the resource is 35 feet. And there's 6 large pine,
Mhm.
1 split oak,
Mhm.
and like a couple saplings.
Yeah, a couple of little ones, yeah.
And how are you planning to take them down?
I'm gonna hire a tree company. I couldn't do it. I have a chainsaw, but I'm not that good.
Right, yeah, no, so you're gonna be keeping the stumps, right?
Should I? Okay, I'll keep the stumps.
Okay.
You can stump grind them.
I was gonna grind them.
You can grind them flat,
Okay, so I can
but we
grind.
just don't want you to dig them up.
Oh, no, I won't dig them up. There's no backhoe gonna go in there, nothing like that.
Check something in my office real quick.
Okay.
Any chance that the saplings could get replanted away from the house?
I think they're too big to dig up. The sapling, well, they're not really,
Yeah. No, and that actually probably fill in too, with the light.
so I can grind them flat, that's okay.
I'm uncomfortable approving without knowing the distance they are from the bank and the distance they are from the house. I'd kind of like to see a sketch that
Yeah, we'll see what
shows
Steve has.
what they are.
Yeah, typically even an assessor's map with the trees designated on it would be sufficient for an RDA. Or maybe he does have something, I don't know. Wasn't in the file.
I find it to be pretty extensive. for
Alright,
removal.
I found the dimensions. So, yeah.
Professional map here.
Yeah, so all the houses,
Andrew's, is there?
Well, this is Zisk Surveying Engineer.
Right?
that's right. So all these trees on the, let's see, pans back. So this tree here is 50 feet.
We don't see
Well,
it
not on the screen.
on this one.
Ah.
I did not touch anything. Is your computer crashing?
That's the cable. So this tree here is 50 feet. This one to my left is 55. This one here. This one here is 40. There's a rock right here. This one here is 30. I got this one here to the left is 24. The one over here is 40, and the split oak is 63.
Oh, from the bank, not from the house.
Right, the opposite way, yeah.
They're from the
And,
bank.
and how far is the
No,
house
it
from
makes
the
sense.
bank?
Yeah.
The house, well, this tree's 55, so the edge of this house is probably about 50 to 55. And then the other side of the house, the front of the house, is outside the 100. Right,
So the distance from that tree to the house is what, like 10 feet?
From here?
15 feet?
yeah, I would say it's about 10 feet.
So the structure is straddling the 100-foot buffer, essentially?
Yeah.
Structure would probably be between, right.
The 50, between the
It's
50 and the
And the 100.
100. I mean, the house is only this, probably 20-something feet, right? And you're at 50. Right
Well,
here.
I took the tape all the way here, because she's got some trees in the front.
Oh,
They're-
okay.
They're outside.
Okay.
Let's see if I can have some still photos. So the 100's right about in the front of the house here.
Oh, okay.
These trees, if she takes these down, they're outside the jurisdiction. It's hard to see.
What would your plan be for the ground once the trees are removed in terms of covering the ground, of grassing or leaving
No,
the?
actually, I was gonna plant some dwarf fruit trees. I have those at home, I like them. Dwarf apple and
Here's
peach
a
trees.
good shot of all the trees.
I've got 12 apple, 6 peach, and 2 pear at home. I like them.
So board, what do we think? We've heard the distances. We don't actually have a plan showing any of the trees. They're marked.
I was gonna make a motion to issue a negative determination with the conditions that there be no stump removal, that you can grind surface, and then our regular order of conditions that we don't have any machinery getting within the 50 and no machinery parked within the 100.
Okay.
So typical conditions,
Yep.
so that no machinery too.
Is that a motion?
That is a motion.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
No?
No.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All set.
Okay, I have one question for the board, just to protect myself. Now, when they take down the trees, you say no machinery too close to the trees? What about
Parking.
buckets for- Oh, okay.
Overnight.
Oh, okay, because I'm just thinking they gotta get to the tree to
They
take
do,
it
we
down.
just don't want them left parked that close to the resource area overnight in case anything leaks.
Gas or oil or anything. All right, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, get something in the mail
Yeah,
or,
yeah, you can go to, you can see the building department, talk to Maria if you wanna pick up the permit in a couple of days.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. We have about 1 minute. So Steve, for moving forward, we really need to have a plan, and we cannot accept the RDA without it, okay?
Thank
Okay.
you.
I think we had this issue last year too,
Yeah.
so,
Once it gets accepted, I gotta just,
you can say, we need more information.
right.
We cannot put it on the agenda, it's an incomplete application. Okay, next item on the agenda is 7:15 PM, public hearing continue 29 Laurel Glades, Kenneth GOUIN, come on down.
Kristen Labrie from Andrews Survey and Engineering here representing the applicant GOUIN. From our previous discussion, we have revised the plans to show the water line sucking in out of the resource area. We added the top wall and bottom wall that was asked for. We went out there and we reshot the seasonal high water on the wall, so based on the discoloration, ended up being about elevation 84, which is seen right here. we updated the resource line and then updated the 50 and 100 foot offset. We then we located the trees that are inside the 100 foot buffer, and we denoted which ones are gonna be removed, which ones are remaining. About 4 will be removed inside the jurisdiction. And so there's 4 trees to be replanted where the sheds will be raised. And then we reworked the erosion control. You will notice that the septic is different on this plan, and the driveway is different because the septic that was designed prior were 8-inch Cultex, which we've been finding have been collapsing in under 7 to 5 years. So we are no longer speccing those out. So we did revise the septic to be a traditional system, which kind of pushed the driveway over due to grading and Board of Health. We're going to go through Board of Health once we get through ZBA. But, so the house is in the same exact location. The driveway just got moved, but the septic is actually now almost completely outside of the 100 foot buffer. Before it was in it. So these trees would have had to be removed, but now they don't. These 2 trees will be removed, and one that's got turned off. There's 4 trees total.
Outside the jurisdiction?
4 trees inside the jurisdiction.
Oh, up on the other side of the access road?
So yeah, there's 2 trees right on the back side of the wall. It's pretty much the tree that. There's one that's on the line, and I just called it in.
Must be one of these over there.
It's the one right in front of the treehouse. That one. And then there's one to the left that'll be removed for grading. Those 2 on the left, right behind the wall, will remain. If these 2 are staying, those don't have any issue. It's that back one that's like right near that pole, and then the one inside, right in front of the treehouse, and then the treehouse is actually outside the jurisdiction. That's kind of like the 100 foot buffer. And then the other 2 are down here where the driveway will be going.
These buffers on the drawing, the 100 foot?
Yeah, the 100 foot buffer's right here.
Okay.
That dash line, it's labeled. And the 50 foot is right here.
I'm not sure if you mentioned it last meeting, but ZBA approved this.
So I went to ZBA first meeting. I wasn't allowed to speak. Yeah, it was an issue. They wouldn't tell us why I wasn't allowed to speak. They just told me I wasn't allowed to speak and continued it. So I went to the second hearing a month later, and the lawyer was, the town council was there, the building inspector was there. They were, I guess the issue was they were deciding between, is it a special permit or a variance? The lawyer told them it was a variance. The building inspector said it's a variance, all set. There was only 4 members present though, and even one member decided that he told us before that, in the meeting, that he wouldn't feel comfortable voting, so we had to continue it again until all members are present to vote. Because only 4 members were present and all would have to vote for it, and he was against it even. So. We are on the agenda for next week, and we should be all set.
Okay.
3 of the 4 members were fine.
It's an interesting story.
Yeah.
How many do you need? 4 out of 5?
There's 5,
You
isn't
need,
there a
you need
5-member
majority,
board?
there's 6, it's a 6-member, and they told me it was 6.
Well,
Okay,
It's
so
5-member board.
So it's 5. When we opened the hearing, all were present, technically, even though I didn't speak. And then last meeting, only 4 were there, so we just need that if, because they told me it was a majority was needed, or 4 out of 5 majority.
Of
I don't know.
The board, of the seats of the board,
Yeah.
not of the present and able to vote.
Yeah, you'll never have a even
Uh,
number on a board, any board probably.
Yeah, they told me that based
There's
on
also-
who was there, that all 4 members would have to vote for the project, and 1 individual was against it, even though the lawyer and the building inspector was telling them what we were doing was correct.
That's true if you have 6.
Okay, so, I wasn't here for the last presentation, so has everything been addressed that,
Yeah, so the biggest, you want to just kind of go over what the big issue was in the last presentation, was this
Yeah.
water line.
Yeah, it was going across the stone wall.
Yeah, the erosion control line was,
Or the water line
Water
too.
line.
The what, yeah, so the water line, what we had before was it was coming, it's an existing well, we had the water line coming in under the wall
Yeah,
and then going up the sand and straight up the center
Okay.
of that. So
Okay.
and then the erosion control was on either side of it, crossing the road.
mhm,
So what I did was I reworked that, so we're avoiding the resource area, crossing it as
So they
far
had,
away and then
if you
running
look
it
on the
up.
picture, Tracy, they had the water line connected
Yeah.
by these two walls here.
What's the house, proposed house?
so,
The existing house is down
can I
here.
ask maybe a out of scope question, why don't they just drill another well?
It's already a well there. That's being used
So this is
currently.
getting demoed?
No, that's remaining, but it's being disconnected from plumbing and turned into
Oh.
a shed.
Oh, okay, alright,
And then the two sheds are being demolished.
Okay.
Because it's a camp lot, it's pretty much a shed.
okay,
Currently.
so it's not a all year, or
No,
all round,
no, that's
year
what
round?
this is.
Okay, okay.
He's building it for his daughter and son-in-law and their family.
Okay, so we're good with those changes, right? The well line?
Yeah,
Right, that's
see,
what we
before, if you see on the TV, before they had the water line between the, up here.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
didn't count for the beach.
So now it's fixed.
Okay.
Goes around.
So you've addressed everything on Steve's little checklist here, right?
Yep, and then before we just gave you the septic plan, I actually made you a conservation plan that has all of our notes for erosion and sediment control, has a conifer tree planting, our erosion control detail.
Okay.
It's all fixed.
So
Checked
this
up.
lower line down by the pond, that's the erosion control line.
The
as well,
dark,
correct?
thick
Dark
one.
dashes, yes.
Yes,
okay.
that is the erosion control line. So what I did
So
was,
2 levels of erosion.
there's actually like 3. I tried to do it to protect everything. So it goes around the wall, and that's for any well work that's done, which they'll be doing. I put a note on here that says proposed water line located on the west side of Laurel Glades is to be installed while the water level in the reservoir is low, because I know you noted that.
Mm-hmm.
So that erosion control level there is to kind of protect that. And then what I did was I put erosion control on the opposite side of Laurel Glades from the driveway, so when the driveway is installed, there's something catching that downflow. And then on this side, it's on this side of the road to protect grading and work done from the septic. And then at the property lines on the downslopes for earthwork for the house.
And you've done the tree list? There's just 2 trees to be removed and then...
4 trees to be removed and 4 to be replaced. So there's 2 here.
Mhm.
We added these when we went over this.
Those are remaining, and these 2 are being removed. And then there's a note, under notes, it says proposed trees include 4 conifers, 2-inch minimum caliber located. Location of proposed trees are approximate, trees to be planted in spring.
Are we good with those locations for the trees?
Yeah, we talked about it.
last time.
Okay.
Because it's already disturbed, because there are sheds there, they're gonna
Yeah.
come down, so the best course is
We were very tree
location-wise.
oriented last week.
Okay.
Because there's nowhere else to like really put
February
them.
3rd, right?
This whole structure
Yeah, the whole structure's coming down.
right
Lot
here.
happened though.
We talked about it.
Okay.
I have
This
not
number of
reviewed those
trees
minutes yet.
need to be quantified. 4-inch caliber.
We located everything that was 4 inches or greater in caliper
Yeah.
to come down, and then we replaced them with 2 inches.
And you were, okay, so you spec'd the, size.
Yeah, the minimum 2-inch caliper to be planted. We are locating any tree that was over 4 inches coming down.
Mm-hmm.
Hence the confusion of
Okay, alright. Okay,
those.
alright, so, board, do you have any other questions?
I do. Is the driveway proposed to be paved?
I believe so, yes.
It is.
Wait, the new driveway or the?
The new driveway.
The new
Oh, it says
driveway,
paved dri- Oh, it does say paved driveway.
Yes.
24
Yeah.
foot.
Yeah, that didn't change. That was, it's 20 foot at the opening, so it's only 20 feet inside the resource area. And then it widens to 24 once it gets outside that 100
Yeah,
foot.
so between the 100 and the 50.
It's only 20 feet wide.
Could you show me on this plan? So from here down, of course, I don't really care, but
Yeah.
So it's just
So
this.
this is your jurisdiction line, that's 100 foot, this is the driveway. So it's only 20 feet wide.
And then where does it end?
This is the driveway here.
Okay, so the gravel dirt
That's
area
existing.
is existing and it won't be paved.
No, that's the
Right.
road.
What I'm,
Yeah.
what I was,
Oh, oh, oh.
what
That's
I
Laurel
was starting to
Glades,
get
yeah.
at is
Yeah.
I'm looking at this driveway, I'm looking at that picture and the slope coming from that driveway and from the house all the way down across the gravel road and towards the pond,
It's
Kind
10% from,
uninterrupted.
it's 10% from the gravel, from the edge of Laurel Glades, going up to about the 96 contour, it's about 10%, and it's driven because of the septic system. We have to get cover over that septic system, and so we're using poly barriers, we worked it as best as we could, but it's about 10%, and it's only for about, it's not even 20 feet.
So
And then
you're-
it flattens out.
It's
So
just shedding,
There's a
But then it
concern about
flattens out.
sheet flowing.
shedding quite a bit of water.
Well, that's, the erosion control is for that, but there is a stone wall there that will,
In the future, if this is paved though, you've got it, where do you have it?
it's sheet flowing this way.
cracked? Yeah.
Which is where it is going now, but it's a single family home, so it doesn't fall under stormwater jurisdiction design.
It doesn't require
Uh,
maybe stormwater design, but from a
Ma-
standpoint of us being
No.
Well, it's in our,
considerate,
that
it's
portion is
within our
in,
jurisdiction, right?
Yes,
It's
which is
within
why
100 feet.
we it was 24, we narrowed it inside the 100-foot as a consideration. And there's only, what's in there isn't actually that much, it's only, yeah.
so I think
And that's where,
we need to address this concern on the sheet flow just for erosion onto that gravel dirt area.
Right.
So we're gonna continue this anyway, so maybe if you
why would it be
can,
continued on here?
cause we're not gonna close until ZBA approves it, we're last.
So, what about Board of Health? Because we were told we shouldn't submit to Board of Health till after we got out of ZBA.
We're always last.
When we when we submitted to ZBA, they told us that we should not submit to Board of Health till we're out of ZBA, because if they deny it, there's no point in submitting to Board of Health.
ZBA is your biggest constraint. You can apply to anyone you want, you can apply to board.
Yeah, but for our client, if ZBA shoots it down, it's a waste of money
Right,
to
We're
submit.
already here too.
No, for Board of Health,
Yeah.
no.
both of us, right.
Yeah.
Well, we weren't gonna do this, and then we were told that we had to. We were told that from ZBA
I mean,
that we had
that's
to submit here and ZBA at the same time, because we were gonna wait to do this.
Typically, even if when you have multiple filings and multiple boards, so even though one board finishes early, like you are now with the commission, or you know, some minor changes, even though if they were gonna approve tonight, it's good to just keep it open and continue it until all the other boards have their say, because if they change the plan and the hearing's closed, you're gonna have to come back, re-advertise, re-notify, just to change those minor changes from Board of Health and ZBA.
Which is why we wanted to do ZBA first, and
Well, you
ZBA
can
told us,
always, but
we had to submit at the
you
same
can just
time.
continue this for a month or until you finish those other ones, just come back and then it's a quick meeting.
So I have a question, would you
And
be
the order
willing,
condition is, see, the order condition is not gonna, might be typed tonight, but usually you're gonna wait another meeting.
well, here's
for
my
next
question,
time.
would you guys be willing to grant a partial, because, like we said, they can't get that well line in once the water's up, and the water's coming up. So they were hoping to get that well line in. Just, not the whole thing, but at least the area where it's gonna be wet.
No, we can't separate it. We typically are the last ones to,
So there's no way they're
Sign
gonna
off.
get that well line in, because ZBA only meets once a month. And they said the water's already coming up, so they're gonna have to wait till next winter to put that well line in.
where's the well line right now?
Currently, it goes this way.
This, running the water.
So they don't have to install, they're just looking to install what's on that side of Laurel Glades.
Yeah,
before
we
the water
can't
comes
issue
up.
anything, if it was a
Yeah, we've-
if it was a health concern, like you didn't have water there, I could see us doing some kind of emergency,
Well,
something, but.
The problem is they're gonna end up having a house and everything built with no water come spring or fall, because the water will still be up and they won't be able to put a well line in, so I guess we can come back then and ask.
Because the, just the digging,
Oh.
you're within the.
Well, yeah, the
the
once,
The groundwater.
yeah, they're gonna dig a trench and it's gonna fill with water, unless they have a sump on site doing that, but we'd have to get permission from you guys in order to do that.
So when are they letting the water up? I mean,
The
when do
water's
they?
up- the water's
Water
It's
already
gone,
coming.
it's coming up right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, so do you have any suggestion for the sheet flow into this area, into Laurel Glades?
I mean, to be honest, it's not a very wide road. It's gonna go over the road into here, which is then this is all gonna be grassed and we're gonna have new trees planted. It's gonna infiltrate by the time it gets to there.
Is there anything over here, or is this a dead end?
I believe there's another
Yeah,
house.
there's a house there.
Okay.
It's
And
not
then the,
super
this
close.
portion is just owned by, like, this Laurel Glades is just a way, right? It's just
It's
a,
a glorified
way.
driveway.
so they have fee interest in this portion. So let's just say if there's erosion happening, they would
have to fix it. Like if it washes out and they can't use it, it's gonna be
Well,
right.
this person would be
Yes,
affected.
But if this washes out, they're going to be directly affected. So they have interest in that staying. You can make it a condition if there ever are issues there, they have to fix it because it's on their property.
Mm.
What's the area used for behind where it says stone retaining wall? That's directly opposite the driveway.
Nothing, I believe it's grass.
Where?
This area right across
right
from
behind
the
the shed.
driveway above the stone retaining wall.
Just behind the
Right.
two sheds that are coming down.
Yeah, right there, it's just grass.
So
So it's gonna run over grass, and then where the sheds are is gonna be replaced with grass and trees, so it's gonna actually have a better infiltration going across versus
Unless
what
it
it
takes
is
the
now.
right and the left on the drive.
It's very, very flat right there. So in in the road in that section, it is
It's very
actually very
flat.
flat. It has a cross pitch to go down to the lake, but it's graded well for what it's doing.
There you go.
I hate to say this, but there, you could do like a driveway trench on the bottom, a grate with
And have
a,
it discharge where?
into the ground.
But that's where it's going now. So if once
Like,
it
say
runs,
like here and then do something here.
yeah, but once it gets there, it's just gonna go
I
back
think
across the
it's
driveway.
continuous.
It's gonna go back, this whole thing
Underground?
is,
This continues both
What's
ends.
the groundwater here? You've got,
I think 8 feet.
oh,
Right
so
through
you
the
could
lot.
do
Right through
just a
the middle
dry
of the
well.
lot.
We can't put it that close to septic.
Yes, correct.
I can't put a driveway
So-
that close.
Weird.
What are you doing on the
Yes.
side?
No, because there's a whole
There's
long
no
road
road,
that
that's
goes
someone
through all
else's
these
property, the
camphouses.
edge of the driveway's right there.
Okay,
Right,
but
so-
part of the
So I
property-
you
can't
need
put
a
it-
20-foot driveway.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of.
They don't have a
houses around
garage,
White
so
Rock.
this is their only access for parking and it's a family. So their part,
Most have
they,
their houses on this side and their septic on the other side.
Or
This
some,
one.
some configurations are up.
Yeah, closer to the reservoir.
Sorry.
I mean, if it was gravel,
This is
if it was
coming
the aggregate gravel, would you be happier with that instead of paved in that
That's
portion?
staying.
I think,
Going up.
I don't know as far as that slope coming down, if it's gonna wash out.
I mean, 10% it's a 6-inch raise. It's 10% sounds like a lot.
No, it's not.
It's not that. It's not as steep as you may think.
Personally, I'm more thinking about the area of the roof and the impervious surface.
The
and how
total
much
impervious
is,
surface area.
how much is being added.
It's just
And
that
that's
this is all
and
and that's where the
non-jurisdictional.
Massachusetts stormwater regulations come in, and single-family homes are exempt from that stormwater regulation where you don't have to.
Right, but we
Yeah,
can
but
still
we
be
have,
concerned.
you have,
Do you have a
Buffer
stormwater
zone.
bylaw?
No,
Because the house isn't in the jurisdiction.
correct.
driveway still is.
A portion of the
Mhm.
So
driveway.
she said she can keep that gravel.
So we can do that lower portion as a,
within
the
our,
aggregate gravel
Okay.
driveway.
10% gravel. It's gonna wash.
It's aggregate gravel, it's similar to pavement, but it's thick, it's bigger.
talking about regrind. Which
It's not gonna be
which
dirt.
eventually it becomes
Now,
impervious.
It's impervious.
now that road,
Eventually.
now that road is a dirt road. I don't know how many of you have driven down it. It's solid. I mean, if there's sections of that road that is steeper than 10% and it hasn't washed out. There's in between two stone walls as you're coming up that road. It's like an S curve and it goes up and then down, and that hasn't washed out.
I'd like to see it.
The
Not
road.
watch out, or like to
Wash
see
out.
what?
I'd like to see the conditions here. I'd like to do a site visit personally. That's just me.
So the rest of the plan is good with everyone except for that, portion of the driveway that's proposed to be paved.
Yeah, it's the only
Is that
concern for me
right?
at least.
I mean, so there has to be a driveway to get from the road to the house. So what material would you guys rather see it be? Dirt?
Gravel's better than paved.
Right, but it's still
Even
gonna
if it's not
wash
really
out.
gravel.
The gravel's gonna wash up more than pavement.
Right.
And then you're gonna
No,
end
I
up
mean-
having debris in the road versus just water crossing the road.
Everything's staked out, the house in Centerline, anything staked out there?
No, we haven't even got through ZBA.
Okay, so, do we wanna schedule a site walk?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, if that's what the board, other board members, I mean, that's my feeling, but I'm only one.
I can't, I'm not making a whole lot of sense out of the plan, I'm not visualizing it very well, so it's probably not a bad idea.
Okay.
When is our next meeting?
2 weeks.
Okay,
16th.
what would you like to see staked out, Board? Just that driveway portion? Cause they don't really need to give us the house,
Correct.
so. And then as far as, the water line issue, we have to figure that out too. If we're
Well,
gonna
if we're gonna wait
condition,
another 2 weeks, it's not gonna matter. The water's gonna be, if we're gonna continue for another 2 weeks, it won't matter, and they'll just have to do it next December. Cause the water's gonna be too high by then.
They should be able to get it in November, yeah. It would be
It'll be
long time
almost,
from now.
it'll be at least 9 months, like 7 to 9 months till they can put in a water line. Unless we could always come back, if the house is done before that, come back and see what, if they have a sump on site in the trench or something else, we can figure that out. But for now, we'll just say we'll do it when it's one.
Saturday?
we can do it Saturday. I'm just thinking about limiting the scope. And then they come
I don't-
back
I
for the
don't-
driveway.
I don't think we can get it staked out by Saturday. We're swamped.
Is the property line marked by any chance?
There's nothing staked out up there.
I'm saying-
Most of the work is outside the jurisdiction, but what are you saying?
If we authorize under this DEP number, like the water line. No.
Okay, but it's the whole project.
I mean, we're already decreasing the impervious that's in the,
What's wrong with the existing water line?
It's going around the house,
it's going
right?
around the left side of the house.
Yeah, well, no, but why can't, how come where it's attached to the existing house, you can't just splice into that?
Because we have to literally run it left and then back up because of the septic. Because we can't have it come up this side of the property.
But if it's already here, you're essentially just going through this.
The other issue is the old septic's over here and they're gonna collapse it, and at an engineering standpoint, I'd rather a water line avoid an old septic. So if I have it come up and cross here, it's gonna cross the old septic tank and system, because that's in this area. So we we prefer to keep it away from that just in case if it ever gets, because if that ever, for some reason, leaks into it or whatever,
Mhm.
it's gonna go back and it's gonna get into that well and then they're gonna have to get a new well going.
Just have one clean plan.
Yeah, that's another activity within the 100 too, is abandoning that cesspool. Or whatever you've got there, the tank. You're abandoning that system, right?
Yeah, that'll be through the Board of Health.
It's within the 100.
Yeah, but it's still it's not being abandoned until the house is installed. So that'll be separate,
You're gonna come back with an RDA?
yeah. Because they can't collapse that first, cause then they'll have no plumbing on the
If you're coming,
property.
if you're gonna continue this, why don't you just add it all to this plan, so you got one plan? You can do that. Good for 6 years.
6 years.
Well, you got 3 year
2
extension.
years plus 3 years? Yeah, you're gonna have to come back.
I mean, I would just add everything. Sounds like it's gonna be continued.
Oh, cause we're not done with it yet.
Right, so but I would add it to the plan,
The whole entire, every
Right.
single thing within the 100.
What, I guess what else you, besides just. so-
Any activity you're doing around this area with machinery. So can we do like next Saturday? For the site walk?
The 7th?
So we have so it's the 16th
There's
is our
no way
next-
we're gonna be able to get anything staked out before the 7th if you wanna see the driveway.
No, I mean like
Or
the
you're
next
talking
Saturday.
14th?
Yeah,
14th.
the 14th. And then our meeting's on that Monday.
16th.
Yeah.
What time? I'm not from, I don't live in Douglas. I live about half hour, 45 minutes away, so I need to.
On site 10?
Yeah.
If it's all staked out and we've got a good plan, then we usually can figure it out. It's only, the big concern is the end of the driveway.
My suggestion is
Agreed.
carpool.
What?
My suggestion is carpool.
Oh,
Because it's not
okay.
enough parking.
It's a
on it.
it's a very narrow road to get there, and you can park in this, there's that gravel area where the wall is. No, on the other side. No, on the
It's
other
house
side.
at the end.
Over here.
On the left. So right where, in front of where the septic's going.
That's the pond.
No, in front of
Oh,
where
so you
the
meet
septic's
here
going. There's a
at
gravel pull-off, you can
9:45?
park there.
Yeah.
But
Yep. Oh, you guys want me here, 9:45?
Be here at 9:45.
So I'm just gonna have them put 2 stakes at the entrance of the driveway.
What day is that?
The 14th, 14th.
As long as we also know what the angle is.
Yeah, we're gonna need more
Well,
than 2 stakes.
I mean, it's only 15 feet, it's 15 feet of jurisdictional area that the driveway's in. It meets it at a 90-degree angle. Tell me what you want staked, and we could put,
We'll figure it out.
typically we do stakes every 50 feet, so inside the jury,
You
we
don't
can put a stake at where it's gonna,
You do
where it's gonna
Whatever you.
come off, and then on the 100-foot buffer, so you can see that it's
Yeah,
15
that's
feet
fine.
away.
I think 4 stakes is good.
Alright.
Okay.
So we'll do it at the entrance
Where
and at the 100-foot
yeah.
buffer is?
Yeah.
Alright.
Board, any other questions? Okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone have questions or concerns in regards to this hearing? No. I'll entertain a motion for continuance
So moved.
to March 16th at
Yes, that.
7 PM.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
I could swear you said, oh, never mind.
And we also have a scheduled site walk
Let me schedule walkthrough.
Right.
on
That's on
the
there.
14th at 9:45 AM at the town hall meeting here.
Right.
Okay. Let's see, public hearing, 45 Oak Street, BWC Whitin Reservoir, CO BLUEWAVE Solar. Hold on 1 second while I help you.
I don't think so. Did that email come through to everyone with that plan?
Yeah, with 11 megabytes.
I answered you, so you knew.
I think, when did you,
Yes.
I had 3 of them now. 3 emails
Okay.
now. Did you answer all three? Okay, thank you.
I think I did.
I did not get anything else.
Yeah,
All
you didn't-
right.
I gave him my email address last week, and I didn't.
The Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing for a notice of intent on March 2nd, 2020 at 7:30 PM in the Municipal Center, 29 Depot Street, for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and the Wetland Protection Act, Mass General Law 131, Section 40. The proposed project involves site work and stormwater features within the 100-foot buffer zone to wetland resource areas located within 45 Oak Street in Douglas, Mass. Thank you. Name and address, please.
Good evening, members of the commission. My name is Jeff Murphy. I'm a civil engineer with Beals and Thomas, designer for the project here at 45 Oak Street for our proposed solar photovoltaic system. The existing property is approximately 41 acres in size. I believe you may be familiar with it through the past ANRAD filing process that we performed for the project, where the resource areas were discussed and confirmed. I believe an ORAD was issued February 3rd, 2020 for that as well. So just to kind of refresh everyone a little bit on the site. Looking at this plan here, north is to this direction. Oak Street here being to the west of the site. The existing single-family home here, located just off of Oak Street. The existing site is comprised of a hill kind of landform with a ridge line that runs generally through the middle of the property in like a north-south direction. So the majority of the site is draining either to the east or to the west down towards Oak Street. The proposed access to the site is currently proposed to follow the majority of an existing cart path, which goes from this point along Oak Street and runs along the edge of an existing grass field here. And then it kind of does a couple turns and goes straight up the hill here, and then it eventually comes up and stops here in the ridge line. We have 6 existing grass fields that you may be able to see here. And those fields are approximately 10 acres in size. The remaining portions of the property are wooded. We have resource areas on site here. We've got a couple bordering vegetated wetland here. We've got a couple isolated wetlands here to the east, and then we've got another BVW up in this northeasterly corner of the site. The proposed work in the buffer zone is primarily limited to off-grading for stormwater basins, as well as this area here, which is improving the existing access. The plan is to improve that road and make it into an 18-foot wide gravel road so that it can sufficiently accommodate the large trailer trucks that will need to be able to gain access to the upper portion of the site in order to install the solar panels. So again, that existing cart path is going to be probably about 75 to 80% of the route. So this area here, just the outer fringe of the 100-foot buffer, we're basically going to be improving that road and a swale that's in that area. And that we've designed this access road to have basically 2 riprap line swales with check dams that will take runoff from this portion of the access road. Down on this side, this area here levels out, so this is going to be kind of a little settling area lined with riprap, and we're going to have a culvert here which will bring the water into this first infiltration basin located here. And then as we make our way up into the site here, we have a larger turnaround area that's going to be used primarily during that construction delivery period. which will subsequently be reduced in size when it's no longer needed, loamed and seeded. And then we have another stormwater basin here, which is designed to take flows from the ridge line and this western slope. So that has a couple swales leading into it from both sides, which are going to capture runoff from the upper portion of that hill. This is jumping here to more the easterly side. That's that swale that will tie into that basin too here. And then this is, you can see, is the ridge line here. This plan depicts the initial site preparation and erosion control phase of the project, where before any land disturbance begins, we'll be installing erosion and sedimentation perimeter controls, primarily consisting of this darker dashed line here, which represents a traditional straw bale and silt fence. So that's the more robust erosion control. And then in some of these cursory areas where we don't have a lot of stormwater being directed to those areas, we have straw wattles proposed. But all areas within areas of jurisdiction and around buffer zones will be the full siltation fencing and straw bales, as well as we've proposed these temporary stump grinding berms, which we find work really well during the construction phase. Those really kind of beef up the control of sheet flow across the job site. So we're going to have those in multiple areas located up gradient of the proposed basins. And in the design of this project, we did a lot of studying of the existing topography and drainage patterns. And the way that we've laid out the basins is and these swales is to basically be able to capture all of the runoff that's coming from within the proposed array area. So the area within inside this ring road here, which is proposed as a 12-foot wide ring road, which is just basically for perimeter access as well as to facilitate maintenance. This proposed solar facility is unique in that it's proposed to be a dual-use solar array. So the way that these panels are going to be constructed is that they'll be elevated higher off the ground, and they'll actually follow the sun. They're called single-axis trackers, and they actually run north-south in orientation. So in the morning, the solar panels will actually face towards the east, and then they'll follow the sun throughout the day, and then at the end of the day, towards the afternoon, they'll end up facing in the westerly direction. And so that's part of the reason why we have this ring road as well, is to facilitate access for the future agricultural operations. So moving into, again, we've designed basically the ring road and all of the features to capture all of the runoff from our access roads, directing it to our infiltration basins. And we've done, we did a few days of soil testing out on the site, and as a consequence of the soil testing, we have your typical glacial till soils on this site, which result in fairly shallow depths to groundwater. So the groundwater table on this site essentially mimics the topography of the site. So when we designed our basins, we've taken that into account to provide the proper offset from those from the groundwater table. So that's the reason why these basins have basically have to be built up or bermed up. This portion of the site is sloping down fairly steeply, so it appears more dramatic because we have to actually build our grades out from existing and then come up with our berm, and then we tie back down to existing grades here. So we've been pretty conservative in our basin design in terms of a pretty significant reduction in overall runoff rates. We understand that the natural hydrology of this area, historically has led to some, concerns and things surrounding the property, just because of the size of that site. So we've been very diligent in making sure these basins are conservatively sized to be able to handle runoff and release it in a very controlled manner through outlet control structures. These are precast 5x5 concrete structures where we've designed multi-stage outlets along those. So we have a smaller opening that's located down lower to the bottom of the basin, and then we have a larger cutout and weir the higher up you go to be able to release the water in a controlled manner. In the 2-year storm, which is about a 3-inch rain event, we're letting out only about less than a CFS of runoff from all of our basins. So we're doing a pretty good job in basically trying to hold back and infiltrate that water, keep everything kind of contained, releasing it controlled manner. We've got these outlet control structures have a culvert pipe that leaves them, and then we've got a riprap lined channel here which will lead down into these proposed level spreaders. And the idea behind those is basically it's a linear kind of riprap depression with a curb edge set along the down gradient side. And the idea is that it's going to allow the water to spread out and crest over a greater area versus a point source discharge, which would be having just a singular discharge point with a riprap apron. So we've taken that into account on all of these basins. The basins are also designed with emergency overflow spillways here, which they're not designed to actually utilize those. Even in the 100-year storm, the ponding is all going to be contained within here, so it's anything in excess of a 100-year event, which would be pretty significant. So we've definitely built in a lot of factors of safety with this design.
So here at the top, we're 50 to 100, and you've got a dark hatch line as your limit of work,
Correct.
and you're not gonna be cutting any more trees beyond that dark hatch line.
Yep, so this line here, this dark dashed line with the little scallop symbol, that's the proposed limit of work, limit of clearing. So the erosion control will be concurrent with that line, the silt fence and straw bale. So yes, in this portion here, we're showing all of our work in the outer 50 to 100 foot buffer zones.
So just generally go over for the commission and the audience, what actually is within the jurisdiction of the commission?
Sure. So, so the areas here within the orange, these are the buffer zones, these are the 50 and 100. So we don't have any work proposed within the 50.
So it's just those two small areas.
So there's these two lobes here,
Yeah.
as well as,
The big one, where's the big one?
so this is the other portion.
Yeah, that one.
So again, we're entirely out of the 50 foot, these lobes here, so we're basically in this more linear portion here.
So-
Is there a reason why you put the note inside the green?
This
Like,
note,
yeah.
because it is nice, it's a nice open spot for it.
Okay, alright. So I was like, is it wicking like into the wetland there?
No,
Like that's
no,
kinda,
it was kind of just a blank space where we
Yeah.
had room to fit text. I was getting a
I
little.
didn't check it twice.
Right, so,
Yeah.
so one major point on the whole project, so the big issue is the stormwater management. So they don't have a lot of work within the jurisdiction of the commission, but the stormwater management is because they have some work within it, they trigger stormwater management. So, town engineer, because they're reviewing this with planning board, instead of us reviewing or having a separate consultant, he said he's gonna review it for the town in conjunction with planning board
We
and
will be, yeah.
and the commission, so we'll be
Ensuring
utilizing, as the meetings continue,
Mm-hmm.
his review as in respect to the commission and the planning board, and then following probably his lead on the major changes, because the major issue in front of the commission is stormwater.
Yeah, so we're the jurisdictional board that grants that permit
We-
for the
we-
controlling portion of the BMPs and.
For the entire
Yeah.
stormwater, just even though,
So
even
through
though,
our
even
order
though
of
the
conditions.
access road is outside of our jurisdiction, because it's stormwater, it's in our jurisdiction as it relates to the stormwater management. So the design, we still have control of aspects of stuff outside of the buffer zone, because it's part of stormwater.
Yes.
Right. So, and he'll be looking at the entire stormwater for the entire site. So that's,
Correct.
so just so the commission knows, so we'll be counting on him to get us information.
It's like a dual permit that we would be granting.
Well, it's a
No,
it's
concurrent
under
review
it's
of
part of the
stormwater.
notice of intent, it's just
Yeah.
that the design goes outside of the jurisdiction of
But I thought there's an additional section in the order,
well, it's for stormwater,
Yeah.
right,
not just the resource areas, I'm saying.
not for DEP.
Right.
No, it's just part of it. It's, the order of condition is for stormwater and any work within the buffer zone.
Right.
Yep, so,
And the second thing is just to notice is that it's just because of convenience that, like, put your finger along the limit of disturbance right there, yeah. Start
Here?
from there and go straight across.
yep.
Is there a reason why you're clearing where you don't need to in the buffer zone?
Oh, so this area in here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think part of the reason that the limits are where they are is in addition to the actual limits of grading here, we also have the shading factor that comes from the trees. So these trees are a certain height, probably 50 to 60 feet. So those trees in the afternoon are gonna cast shadows back this direction. So in order to make sure that these panels in this portion are not shaded, we have to do a little bit of additional clearing outside of the fence, the proposed fence line in those peripheral areas to ensure that the panels aren't being shaded and therefore reducing their efficiency.
This is a very long, it looks like
tall are
it's
these
like
trees?
100 feet away.
Are they
Right.
The-
But there's, yeah, and again, I can
Okay.
have Matt Harlan from Blue Wave Solar elaborate a little bit on the
Angular.
rationale. of
I'd say
that.
also the structure, the stormwater structure could also be compromised over the years too. Right? With the trees there,
Well, yeah, so the
on the
limit
other
of-
side,
where, over here?
where we were just talking about, the other side.
This side?
Yeah. The
Well-
grading and all that.
Well, yeah, this area is
Yeah.
gonna be cleared
Yeah.
and maintained. So the stormwater basin grading stops right here, so there's you know, again, we're not gonna plant any trees, we don't want any trees growing on the actual earthen embankment itself. So this area would be maintained just so that it's not gonna shade the panels, but it shouldn't present an issue with the stormwater basin per se.
Peter, you know how to take this.
So this wet area, if you go to that other drawing you had up, the other page,
The one further up,
Comment?
the one of the.
you put it up after this.
Yeah, this one?
Generally, it's when.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, what's, this one?
Yeah, so the wet area would be
It's
below.
it's down
it,
here,
okay.
correct, yeah, so this is north and this is west, so these two sheets are set up kind of like that, so yep. So that large basin we were just looking at is right in this area, just off this page.
Okay, do you wanna speak to the tree
Yeah, sure
heights
thing.
and
Yeah,
everything?
the
Name and address, please.
Hi, Matt Parlon with Solar. I just wanted to speak to also our limit of clearing is designated as sort of you know, the maximum limits with which we can have any level of disturbance, but as you properly noted, you know, that's over 100 feet away, and when we're looking at things that actually have impact over there, you need to have probably a 70-foot tree at that point, and we'll be taking topography into account. If that's a little bit lower, maybe 10 feet of a drop from topography, you may even need an 80-foot tree at that point. So once you get to that distance, we really look to do selective clearing. It's not any sort of like clearing or stumping or anything like that. For the low growth, we try and keep that as minimally disturbed as we can.
Or do you have any questions on that clearing portion?
Well, I'm opposed to it. I'd rather keep
Selective clearing in this area?
the limit of work away out of the buffer zone in that area, if we could.
That is just a local bylaw, isolated, right? Right there.
This one is the pink one.
So that's isolated, falling under our local only, not jurisdictional with Wetlands Protection Act.
But I mean, are you making the general comment that you'd like the limit of work to be outside the 100?
Yeah, of course.
So he's saying even here, you'd like to see it up here. Am I interpreting that? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at the distance we are from the solar panels, which you said was 100 feet. I don't have a plan in front of
Depends
me.
where you are. So,
Probably
So
about
that
100,
plan is not
150,
showing the
160.
stormwater basin.
oh,
There's
But
a considerable
I
elevation
just wanted to
change, it looks like,
show you
between that
what
upper
the-
solar
Yeah.
panel
Where
and
the
the
panels
lowest solar
are.
panel and where the limit work line is.
Yep.
Looking at the grading coming off of the detention basin, what is there, 20, 30 feet of elevation change difference?
Yeah, it's at least 20.
So 100 foot and 20 to 30 feet of elevation change
Mhm.
would be a, I mean, you'd have to have a 120, 130 foot tree, I think, to impact those solar.
it's over here.
So why shouldn't we have the limit of work line be higher up where it would not impact the wetland buffer? I know I'm not making much sense.
Yeah,
but
so I think the area
This is where
we're
the
talking
select-
about
the-
it is
the
in
way-
here,
this is where the
correct?
selective cutting is.
And,
This is
and
what
on the
I'm
other
talking
side as
about. The
well.
selective cutting is not happening over here. This they're
So the
clearing to
grading
build
also,
there.
Well-
he's looking at
Right,
a
and
different
I
plan with
think
the
they have to
panels.
Do you think they should just move the whole thing back?
No,
Oh.
no, I'm looking at this area here and wondering why this line
Yeah,
can't.
The
Come
I
up
I think there's a potential
they-
opportunity to maybe tweak it in this triangular
okay,
area
thank you.
here.
Yeah.
Because again, this is potentially
There's two
like just
conversations
kind of
right
dead
now, by the
space
way.
right now,
Yeah.
so. I think we may be able to take this here and, you know, again, we'll double check things, but we may be able to actually bring that limit of clearing up
Mhm.
closer to the fence line. And things, so I think that opportunity exists in this area to certainly reduce some of the clearing here.
I
And
don't
so-
know, I don't know
I
if
think,
this is,
so basically anywhere where there's no grading or structural work with the stormwater, in the buffer zone, the limit of disturbance should follow the buffer zone line.
Well, yeah, so we have the off grading here.
Yeah, so it's okay,
That's
you're in the buffer
outside.
zone, it's okay,
And
you're
then
in-
you have a little portion in the middle.
Right, so based upon the grades, these are kind of the minimum grading required to catch existing grades, and we do have to leave ourselves a little bit of room here. This was something that, again, through the stormwater review, and I know Bill has already commented on it, making sure we have access to these outfall locations here for maintenance. So I may just have to leave a little bit of room in this area so that you can drive down to here to get at this for maintenance.
Alright.
At least from this side, but certainly out here, I think we can definitely pull that back here. And even in this area, I think we might be able to pull it back a little bit as well. I think it's not ideal to have everything kind of right at the bottom of slope, but we can definitely, I think, provide a little bit more impact or less impact here by pulling this portion up a little bit out of that. Again, it is.
What's the width of the roadway that you're looking to do there?
Oh, up in here?
No, the access road.
The access road, I'd say it'd probably only have to be about 10 to 12 feet wide, so fairly
So
narrow.
if
just
they
to get
hold the 90 in that portion and everything else pulls out on that triangle area?
Yes.
So-
This one, yes, that would be preferable if they pulled this in.
So
Right
he's
now.
gonna pull it out a little bit on this side too.
Yeah,
Yes, that would be preferred, yeah.
yeah, I think we
Those
can
would be nice
definitely
things.
look
Okay.
at pulling it back
And then
through
let's
here.
look at the bottom left corner there too, where the roadway is. So the existing is a roadway currently,
one?
right?
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah, this area in here, there is currently a cart path here, with a kind of unimproved relic drainage ditch there. So the idea is to basically mimic what's happening here now, and then improve this swale here, add riprap and check dams, and allow this kind of settling area down here.
So we still have a check dam and we have an expanding roadway, right? From what is existing. Any trees to be cleared there?
So there's already kind of a little bit of a corridor through here, even though this shows as like a new tree line. They may have to trim back a few trees just on the edge of it to kind of improve it there. But Steve, I don't know, you may have some photos of that area.
He's trying.
Oh, you got disconnected.
I need a new cable.
So there is actually a corridor through here, but again, it would have to be expanded a bit to accommodate the grading of the road and the swales.
Okay,
So
so
pretty minimal.
Did you do any soils and, check the soils, what type of soils there are here?
Yeah, so we have done, we actually did 20, I think 3 or 4 test pits throughout the site within the locations of the basin. So we have been kind of all over the site in terms of testing. It's kind of your classic New England glacial till, Paxton Woodbridge soils. So you've got, kind of that glacial till layer. This is the cart path as it currently exists. This is looking, I believe, up the hill. It's probably taken from somewhere in this direction, looking up to the summit of this ridge here. As you can see, that little feature on the right side of the photo, just an old ag ditch there. But basically, this road is only, I'd say, 10 to 12 feet wide, but it's not adequate to support the loads that we're going to have with the trucks to get in there. So they are going to have to improve that road significantly to be able to drive in there. So the idea is to basically utilize that and improve that swale that's already there. And this is the section where it kind of hooks around and levels out. So
That's looking down now.
this photo is looking down the road, probably taken from somewhere in this area. Starts to curve around here and it levels out, and that's where we want to kind of have this little settling area and then a culvert just to kind of get it underneath to the other side of the road to our basin.
Now, how much flow is coming off of that basin there?
This basin here,
No, the big one.
all the big basin. So in the 2-year storm, I don't have the exact.
Is it more than the other little ones? Is a lot of water coming? I mean, so that pipe, the pipe that comes off the basin,
Yeah.
and it comes to the
Yeah.
pad. You have a dissipator there where it sheet flows it, and it's gonna, so it doesn't channelize if it comes off of that in a heavy storm event.
Yep. So this is the outlet pipe here that goes underneath the berm from the outlet control structure. We've got a flared end section which kind of takes that, spreads it out, and it goes directly into a kind of trapezoidal riprap line swale. So that's what you'll see kind of here coming down the berm. And then again, that's where I was describing it. It hits that level spreader area, so it's basically a linear kind of plunge pool where it basically takes the flow, allows it to pond up in that little plunge pool. It spreads it out horizontally, and then we've got, it's basically as a curb, a precast curb that gets set along the edge, and it basically allows it to just crest over that curb line, over that length, so that you're not getting as much, channelization, and so it's spreading it out across that distance. But
do you
in
have the
terms,
detail?
I can let's take a look.
So Bill will get into the stormwater calcs, but in layman's term, you have to set a bunch of different point source discharges that you're designing for. And so is the flow, maybe not the rate, but the quantity of water that's coming through that wetlands areas gonna be the same or less? You're not adding?
We're definitely not adding. We're attenuating the flows for the design storm events. So we understand that area, the natural hydrology of that area is really what's feeding that wetland and things, and also that area in general is kind of a natural hydrologic flow path. So we're basically trying to have the outlet discharge to that same location. So again, this is that level spreader detail. Again, we've got the
Detail on the back page. What
this
he
is
was
the
describing.
flared end section, so the water would come out here through the riprap swale, and then you've kind of got this kind of oval shaped depression, so the water would fill up inside of that, and then it would crest over top this precast concrete curb, and then we got a little bit of riprap on the down gradient side, and again, that's just to try to
The middle.
dissipate and break up the flows. I don't have the exact numbers offhand. I could pull up the stormwater report if you're interested to know what the outflows are.
Next time.
Yeah, I mean, Bill's gonna be reviewing
Once we get a
that,
response back
But
from
it
the
is
town
a-
engineer.
It is a reduction in flow,
Okay.
to that area, so,
So people down gradient aren't gonna get an increase.
no. Nope.
Okay, so I think, board, do we have any other questions about our jurisdictional areas? They'll
Really,
tighten up the line.
just really quick, there's a fence around the entire project?
Yes, that's correct. There is a 7-foot high chain link, fence. I think, we may have even shown it in our detail, but I think in a
Because I saw
lot.
it in some parts and not in other, and I'm sure at some point it has to intersect a wetlands. Or I'm guessing that at some point it has to intersect a wetlands.
So yeah, I believe on that plan, it does go through the buffer zone.
Okay.
You'll see,
Is it co-located with the limit of work?
Yeah.
yeah,
It
so
is.
it's
Okay,
it's
thank you.
generally, yep.
Within it.
Yep. Okay.
It's easier to see on this.
Yeah, this one doesn't have the topo on, so it's a little easier.
So you're
to pick up.
isolating that
Next
section of
page.
wetlands from the retained remaining wetlands then by that fence?
So I was,
Okay, yeah, it's shown on that one.
yeah, so I think this one does, this one shows it as well. Again, it's basically pretty tight to the toe of slope there. We have our basin off grading in these areas, so it's generally following the bottom of slope there. But I was gonna say the detail, I'm gonna check this because I believe it typically shows a critter gap underneath the fence. I don't know if it made it onto this one. But I
Okay.
think that's something we typically have, whether it's like a 6-inch gap, that's something that is pretty commonly done on this project, so I can make a note
That would be a detail I'd be interested to see.
to add that to the chain link fence
Yep.
detail. Yeah.
What will the slopes and the areas contributing to the buffer or in the buffer zone be planted with, and how will they be maintained?
So the slopes in the buffer zones. So the area, within, so yeah, these areas here, so the basin off grading slopes here are all designed at a 3-to-1 slope,
Right?
which is, pretty typical for stormwater basin grades. So that is the intent with that, and again, over here, you've got that basin off grading here. Yeah, the seed mix, I believe we specified on the note sheet, which was sheet C101, note 43. New England erosion control restoration seed mix for dry sites is what we had spec'd for all disturbed areas within the array limits of work.
Do you have a construction
that-
sequence plan? Sorry, Mark.
It's okay.
Do you have a, okay, you finished with the seed mix.
Yep. So sorry. So yeah, that was the seed mix that we spec'd for the project.
Is that not shown? Is the mix itself identified on the plans, or is it in the
It's-
booklet?
It's not noted on the plan, but it is noted on the planting notes that are on sheet C-101. And we do have some construction sequencing notes.
So it'd be nice if you had, especially for conservation, that the important part of any project, in my opinion, is the beginning. You have
Yes.
the beginning, what it looks like now, and what you're gonna get to.
Correct.
How you get there is critical. A lot of times, the construction sequence plans, if it's not really, you have a separate sheet on that, or how you plan on phasing this project, so it's not a mud pit. Usually, you're gonna be using, constructing the detention ponds first. Sometimes when you have that lower detention ponds, construction sites, it's a detention pond, but it's gonna be a settling pond during construction, so all the sediment flows to there. Everything gets diverted, so you're controlling all the mud while you're constructing the thing.
Yep.
And then eventually you turn that into a detention pond. The ponds are built first before you do any other work. So as it rains and it takes a year or so to do the project, or 6 months that you're controlling the runoff during the project. So you probably have that in your stormwater management, but if that is something where we're out in the field, and it's specifically detailed on a separate sheet,
Yep.
phasing plans,
Yeah.
sequencing, making sure that the ponds are constructed first before you start construction on, you know, clear cutting all the trees, and then you have the loggers in there and it becomes a mud pit.
Yeah, so on that same sheet, C101, we have construction sequencing notes, which are notes 52 to 64. So it starts by, first one on there is, you know, notify the Douglas Conservation Commission a minimum of 72 hours prior to the start of any construction activities.
Is that on the stormwater? Is that on the big sheet too?
The notes,
Yeah.
well, the notes, no, the notes are written in, on the notes section, but this is, we have the first couple sheets of our plan set are like the site prep and erosion control plans. So these notes verbally kind of go through the progression, which basically indicates all the perimeter controls are the first thing that get installed before any work occurs. And then those would have to be inspected, you know.
But what you're reading from
It's
is.
for notes, references, and legends,
Right.
see sheet, see whatever.
Right, okay.
C-101. It
Yeah.
refers to the notes that are, you know, we're consolidating all the notes onto this one sheet, so, again, that
What
kind
would
of,
you prefer?
I think that what we're used to, because sometimes all the pages get mixed up, is kind of one full view plan with a
Mhm.
construction sequence that it's on site and it coordinates with the order of conditions. So yeah, you can have all the other pages, but we want kind of to see our conservation notes on one overview so that you give that one plan to somebody and that they call us before they look at those little teeny.
We have another solar project going on right now as we speak in
Yeah.
town,
Yeah.
which is about the same size as this.
yeah,
And it's critical that they built those ponds first. And you might be
Yeah.
aware of it, that project, but.
I am, yeah.
And, it's a lifesaver now, especially, you know, going
Yep.
through winter
Yeah.
and spring and the thaw, and they're doing a great job on controlling the runoff. And if it
Right.
wasn't for the ponds and the check dams and
yeah,
everything else you have in place, but during that part, we made sure that those were part of the phasing plans to make sure the commission wanted those implemented first. And sometimes
Yeah.
these guys, they might sell this project to a third party,
Mhm.
and they come in, and if it's not specifically on the plan, they're gonna like, well, hey.
Or the last page, that C101, it disappears.
uh,
But at
Right.
least they have to have that in order
So, yeah,
for them to be told.
maybe we integrate
Building.
the notes on the C-101 with the site prep and erosion control plan and try to maybe tailor it a little bit more to that approach, so
Yeah,
it's just
we-
more evident and it's
Yeah.
just spelled out on the plan
Yeah,
a little
I
bit
think
more.
you have enough room.
Yeah.
We just like
Maybe
to
down in
be
here.
comfortable with
Right.
our conservation construction sequence. And then we can point to the plan, you know, Steve's gonna go out there for the first time and he's gonna point to the plan saying, this is what we're expecting and what was permitted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we may be able to accommodate that here. We can kind of
Do you
work
plan
that.
on doing that? I mean, just in general, building the ponds first?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. So yeah, that's what that list of notes does kind of outline, the typical progression, the construction sequencing. So yes, typically we've got the erosion controls in first, those are installed and inspected. Then, once that's done, they'll go in and they'll start removing trees and vegetation. And then they'll start kind of roughing in their access road here so that they can get into the areas that the basins are located. And they can
Right, so
start
that
to
point
do the
there, like,
grading.
how much trees are they removing all the trees, or just the trees in order to do the basins?
In the whole site or just?
In the whole site?
So yeah, I mean, we could get to the level of that where they cleared those areas
Like the West Street
first.
project, we made them build the basins
Right.
first.
They started at the toe of the slope, which is where the basin was, and then they
constructed it.
started working up the hill before they started kind of really
And
removing a
now
lot
that's
of the
capturing all
timber.
the runoff and settlement
Correct.
before everything's established.
Yep.
Right. Instead of having that be the last thing constructed, it's the
Yep.
first thing.
Exactly. Yep.
Do you have a DEP number?
I do. I believe they just sent the email late this afternoon.
But it's
here.
not 967, is it? That's the ANRAD number?
Here it is. This is came through this afternoon.
So you've got in your notes the ORAD's DEP file number in here. The 967.
Oh, is
So
that?
somebody would maybe get confused. 989. So,
Might have to change that though, yeah.
yeah, because this says erosion control sediment notes DEP file number. So we wouldn't want somebody to just pull that number and say, oh yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I gotta put that.
So like those notes, the construction sequencing notes is good. We pull that all as a, one look type of master sheet. And then if they need details. Okay. We do have an EAP number. There, is this paper for me or do you want this back?
You can have it if you want. I think, did Steve get copied on it?
I didn't look
I
in
think
the
it came through
folder.
Maria, I think.
I probably got it late today.
Yeah, came through at about 4:30, so
Okay, alright,
know.
I'll keep
You
it, I'll
can-
put it in your file.
just if,
I just wanna make sure, 'cause I don't have it on. Okay, board, do we have any other general questions about the overall scope? Any other concerns at this moment?
Not right now, not at this moment.
Okay.
Yes, not at this moment.
Okay, alright. Anybody in the audience, this is a public hearing, have any questions or concerns in regards to this project? Yes, miss? Name and address, please.
78 Tory Road, Sutton. I'm on the east side. I would like to see something added to the fact that the invasive species in the wetlands be removed by hand or some other mechanical means. It's really a big problem.
Yeah, and
Okay, if you wanna speak, yep,
Yeah, so I've actually.
name and address, please.
Matt Farlon with
Yep.
Solar. We've been in communication and, it's not key to the project that we acquire this right, but, Ms. Kroll's been a great neighbor to date and we'd be happy to look into, in addition to managing the area within our limit of work. If the board would have interest, we would have no problem expanding into, by hand, going into the buffer zone to help manage invasives, just as part of our maintenance and site upkeep.
Okay, alright, we can write that into the condition. Okay, alright, anyone else have any questions? Yes.
Shirley Mazinski, 60 Oak Street. I'm sorry, but I missed the seed mix that you mentioned. What is it?
yes. So the seed mix it's called New England Erosion Control Restoration Seed Mix for Dry Sites by New England Wetland Plants, Inc., or approved equal. So it's a proprietary seed mix.
And you'll tell us what the components are of that
Yeah.
mix, correct?
We can definitely do that. We can
Yeah,
break
they
it out.
have it, yeah, it's.
On the website, they'll list out the different,
Yeah, you
species and
can-
percentages and.
Why don't you bring that spec sheet in for
Yep.
the cut sheet?
And I do have more questions.
Sure, yep.
So are you planning to use any pesticides or herbicides on those sites?
Within the jurisdiction of the Conservation
Conservation?
Commission?
Matt?
Yeah, so there's no pesticide, herbicide, or any chemical use associated with the array. The only potential for pesticides or herbicides would be if the long-term agricultural component or farmer wished to do so, and that, if any, would just be within the array area, so that would be in the limits of the access road.
Okay, that would be a condition, I think that's standard in our order of conditions.
Yeah. So, so you're saying, what would you use it in order to, how are you gonna maintain the field?
They're hanging underneath the solar.
So the panels are, so as they're single axis trackers, when they're flat, there's about 10 feet of clearance underneath, and the columns are spaced 23 feet, center on
Well,
center.
I didn't know they were gonna, I knew they were high, but I didn't know they were still,
So high?
but they're not gonna be hanging.
Yeah,
Dual
so,
use.
So what it allows for is that you also, we're spreading it out to the degree where there's over 20 feet separation in the rows, so that farmers.
There's a good shot
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, this is actually
I
at
thought
the,
when you meant dual
the
use
UMass
as a
School of
tilt.
Agriculture.
There's 20 feet between those two.
The farm is
So,
dual use.
so this is a different configuration. Ours is like
cheated.
this,
There's
but
no
higher,
opposite.
and there's
Wow.
23 feet
Thanks.
between these two poles right here.
Okay, so as far as the pesticides and herbicides, concerning our conservation jurisdiction, there will be none
Okay.
used, and that will be
The
in the
reason why I
order.
asked is because sometimes they spray to keep, if it was a low
Right.
solar, they would spray it.
Oh yeah,
They're
there's
not gonna weeds down.
Yep, there's no clearing and there's no cleaning chemicals or anything like that.
Okay, alright, a follow-up question?
Yes. So would you please put the map up so we can see the access road?
Yes. I guess which portion of the
The
access
top
road?
left corner?
This portion in here?
Onto Oak Street.
Oh, onto Oak Street
Oh.
here. So like this area here?
Yeah, so my understanding, it was supposed to be changed, so does that affect what is under conservation? And have you changed it?
So yeah, that was a comment from the planning board. So what we have looked into and, you know, we've done conceptually is the access road point of connection to Oak Street is looking to change to this area in here. Fortunately, that change is located outside of the buffer zone, so it's not going to affect anything in Concom jurisdiction. The design of the basin and, you know, this area here, the idea is that this is gonna be kind of a contractor staging area. We're basically gonna be like disconnecting this whole apron here, not doing any work along this portion of Oak Street, and realigning another spur off of the road here to kind of allow some circulation. So that's what we're looking at doing right now.
And one side note, you're missing on your plan that additional 100 to like 75, that's off-site. You're not
Oh.
highlighting that, and
Oh,
that's
yeah, that
actually
should be
within the
highlighted.
jurisdiction.
Oh, yep, you're right. That little piece right here is, should be highlighted. That piece got missed. But fortunately, we're not changing the design in the limit of work in that area as of right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still more or less.
Yeah, so you did highlight it on our plans.
Yeah, I think I
Just for the record.
accidentally missed
so-
this on the
yeah.
display,
Okay.
copies.
There is a smaller portion off-site that is falling, the 100 is falling into our jurisdiction, on the bottom there. So let's just say something I'd change with the roadway, then that could possibly be.
Yeah, I mean, right now, this area is proposed to stay the same,
Mhm.
so.
Okay.
Except that it's not coming out onto the road.
Correct. This lower portion, this whole apron, this is gonna would be disconnected, and then there'd be another spur that would come off to right here. That's what we're looking at right now.
Okay, because to me, this is it's a misconception. And if there was, so it should have been kind of,
So the limit of the jurisdiction for conservation is not gonna be changed with the relocation of the
question.
exit. Yeah, just wanna take a peek at that. If you're relocating this, you're actually probably pulling this out, right?
Well, we're not changing.
You're not gonna change this.
So we're gonna spur from this point,
Oh,
coming
okay.
out to right here by the
Okay.
house. So
So-
this piece should stay the same, and this little staging area, we're hoping to have remain.
Well, you
Since
could
it's
probably even lessen the staging area within that,
Yeah,
right?
just the
You'll have
staging
enough
area,
space.
we'd really like to see move out of the
I mean, this,
jurisdictional area.
Cause you won't have,
right, I mean, luckily, this is an open field here, you'll see the tree line, this is a grass field here, so it does, we may be able to reshape it a little bit, in that area to kind of pull it around, but, this area, it's not like we're really creating any disturbance in that area, I mean, there is a little bit of disturbance with the berm of the basin in this little corner here, but kind of this piece here is where you get out into the grass field here, so it's
okay.
just an
So
erosion
it could
control
be
running right through the middle of the
equal
field.
or less than what you're proposing at this moment, right, with the change of the entrance.
Correct.
Yeah, you all set?
I think so.
Okay.
It's just the other thing is again, I'm hoping that what you're planning to do up there with those basins really works, because just the other day after a rain, and I walk, as I've said before at other meetings, on that road a lot. And the other day, the water was just flowing out of their lawn, which is,
Oh, down in this area?
no, down toward, going,
This way?
yes.
By the house?
By the house beyond, the last,
Like in this area here? Or
to
this
the
area?
right, yes. There's a
Yeah.
nice house in there. I mean, the water was just bubbling out of the ground and onto their driveway and into the road. And when that freezes,
Yeah, so we're
So it is
depending
wet.
on the stormwater calculations and the review by our town engineer to ensure that there won't be any additional water bubbling up there.
Yeah.
So that's what we're waiting for that report, but that should be well vetted by the end of the day, by the end of this project, to make sure there's no additional issues.
Yeah, and we should have about 20% reduction in runoff to this design point, which is this portion of Oak Street here. So the basin should provide.
Will you be importing soil to be able to build the berms at the detention basins?
Yes, as currently designed, these basins are fill above existing grade, which again is a consequence of the subsurface conditions, in that we can't really cut much into the existing grades.
Do you have a quantity of material?
I don't have that number on me right now, but we could look into that.
Okay, all right, for next time. One more question? Yeah.
I'm concerned about the herbicides and the pesticides, that I know it's potential, but that potential is, they're all going to these basins. Those basins are going downhill straight into Manchug, and then the other one, the other pond, and we have cold water springs on our property, which I know water flows underground and it comes back up, so I'm concerned about that.
With the dual use, I don't know if we can speak to the actions of the future.
Yeah, that's my concern.
That they're telling us their project is not gonna involve that, and that's what we're permitting right now. So I'm not sure if we can speak to anything for future use, you know, if a farmer wants to go there with the pesticides, I don't know what we could say on that. We can look into it, for the next
I mean,
meeting.
they can make a statement that they're not gonna be doing.
Right, and that's all we really can
Right, but we
control.
can only control for the future.
Okay, anyone else have any other questions? Yeah, no? Okay. All right,
No,
so, we have a couple things that we'd like you to clarify for the next meeting. And then hopefully we'll have some feedback from the stormwater report and from Steve on his final fine-tooth comb of the
Right.
project, so, we're looking to continue this hearing to March 16th at 8 p.m. Do I hear a motion?
So moved?
Do I have a second?
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are running a little bit behind schedule. So. Give us enough time for the next time. Okay, next item on the agenda for 7:45 p.m. Public hearing 88 West Street, Jonathan Whipple. The Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting for Jonathan Whipple on March 2nd, 2020 at 7:45 p.m. in the Municipal Center, 29 Depot Street, for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and the Wetland Protection Act, Mass General Law 131, Section 40. The proposed work location will be done at 88 West Street and involves a proposed single-family dwelling.
Hello, Madam Chairman.
Green cards, please. Thank you.
I did not print the board, so I apologize. It might be
Name and
easier if I-
address. You can have this board if you want.
We have a plan right here?
There's a board right here.
This
Whatever you,
should be pretty straightforward. This way nobody will have to crane their neck to look the other way.
and name and address if you.
My name is Scott Rabideau. I'm a wetland biologist. Natural Resource Services, Inc. We're located in Harrisville, Rhode Island, which is really close to here, if you've ever been to Rhode Island. So what I'd like to do, if you'd indulge me for a little bit, is give a brief history of this project.
That would be great.
Yeah, because this does have some history.
history.
I don't know if anybody on this board was here back in 2010.
I was.
You didn't sign the order, though. I didn't see your name on the order. But
I
anyway.
was there.
What's the order?
I had 10 years. Yeah,
Okay.
then 10, I might have just missed it.
Yeah. So anyway,
was here.
this project was originally before the Douglas Conservation Commission in 2008, right, Steve?
To that,
And then it was denied in 2009. It went to the DEP for a superseding order of conditions that was granted in December of 2009.
you first, I think, you first submitted in 2006.
06, right? Yeah, I had an 06 file number in my job. And literally, I think that was the last time I was before you.
Actually, 2000, they were here in 2009.
So anyway, when it went to the DEP for a superseding order, changes were made to the plan, house size was reduced, direct impacts to the wetlands were eliminated, and the plan you see here is pretty much the plan that received the superseding order in 2009. In 2010, with the superseding order in hand, we came back to the Douglas Conservation Commission and got a permit under your bylaw. That permit was issued in July of 2010 with the tolling acts that the Commonwealth passed and with an extension that was granted in 2016. There is still a valid permit under the Douglas bylaw for this project. So I lay that history out before you, Madam Chairman, because I think technically we only should be here for a permit under the Mass Wetlands Protection Act. I filed everything just in case you did not agree with me and we did not lose any time by doing that. But Mr. Whipple has a permit from the Douglas Conservation Commission that is valid until July 6th of 2020 under your Wetlands Protection bylaw.
Right, so I've contacted Mr. Whipple, and so he's been in, because you have an you have a DEP permit now.
DEP permit expired.
It expired, so so I requested that you can't, technically, I don't think we can have two DEP numbers under one parcel, so my request was to issue get a certificate of compliance from the DEP on the superseding order.
Which we can do. We've already
Which is in
checked into
process.
that. It's a very simple matter.
So the commission, I emailed the scenario to our town council.
Okay.
And then I updated him today. He's gonna be reviewing it tomorrow. I've never run into this before.
Neither have I.
In 20 years of doing it. The issue, long-term, which just say sake of argument, that you get approval from the DEP. If you don't build it by July 6th, then you can't build it under the Douglas bylaw.
I understand that. So this is Mr. Whipple's home, and he was ready to build it last year when all this started. So he is ready to move forward on it.
So what I asked the town council was, what's the proper way of proceeding on this project? Do you start it from scratch? Do you take information from what was granted, the commission denied the original DEP filing from 2009? I mean, that information's still out there. There was, do we do the whole process like that never happened? What's your experience on?
That there's
So
some precedent setting.
this is a new project for you under the Mass Wetlands Protection Act. There's no question in my mind about that, because everything's expired.
Right.
So what happened, just for the board's knowledge, is the previous owner came to the Conservation Commission and got an extension under the town bylaw, failed to go to DEP to get an extension under the superseding order. Otherwise, we'd be under construction. We would have had both. So, nothing we can do about that. It is what it is. A presumption on my part is we're coming back on March 16th. So if you get word by town council, maybe we can continue and make that decision at the March 16th meeting as to which way we're going with this in terms of, whether I'm gonna, just go forward with a straight Mass Wetlands Protection Act project
Or get a certificate of compliance on both, and then.
Well, I see,
I'm not sure- I'm not sure.
and, please don't take this the wrong way. I've never been before this board. So let me tell you, the project has a house within 10 feet of a bordering vegetated wetland.
Yeah.
And that flies in the face of your bylaw. So put yourself in the property owner's shoes. He has a valid permit right now under your bylaw. It is clear under the Mass Wetlands Protection Act that, work within the 100-foot buffer zone can be allowed, provided that you're not having any impact to the functions and values of the wetland. It was issued a superseding order in this, so we're very confident in terms of, its compliance with the Mass Wetlands Protection Act. A little less confident in terms of whether you would be amenable to going forward with this under the bylaw. So, I hope you understand that the common sense nature of that. We will work with you to make sure that everything here, it meets your satisfaction.
So looking it over, so the plan, you're saying that the plan's exactly the same,
The plan is exactly the same, with the exception, Steve, that I redelineated the wetland.
and they're closer to the project?
Couple feet.
Couple feet.
Couple feet, yeah. And it was just, and again, we did the wetland delineation in July. We wanted to make sure we provided you the data forms.
Tell me again how you got to DEP numbers.
Well, Steve is saying you can't have DEP. We have a DEP number for this project. And
But I don't think you can file for 2 DEP numbers.
I have a DEP
Well, they've
number.
issued it, so they're looking like it expired and it doesn't really matter.
Correct, and we've
Or the
talked to
superseding order, and then they have an
Denise Child basically
An
provided us
active-
with you.
yeah, so did she have any notes on that?
I don't know if you were copied on this. Steve,
So
that's June 21st,
I
2019.
think she's gonna be going out there, right?
What's that?
She's gonna be going out there to do a certificate of compliance?
If we submit it.
Yeah.
If we submit it.
She said hold it until we met with you.
Yeah, she said to hold it until we met with you to find out what the procedure was gonna be.
Oh,
Okay, so we can take care of all of that in the 2 weeks coming up for the extension if we decide.
so do you have a question on what the procedure is?
I know, I wanna know if we're on firm ground, and you're saying you spoke to your legal counsel.
No, I haven't spoken to him, I emailed him.
Okay. I wanna know if we're on firm ground with just moving forward with just a Wetland Protection Act permit.
I think that that's the proper process. You have to come here and then you get a superseding if you are denied.
Oh, I
So,
understand that.
Yeah, so right now we have an active local permit which authorizes the building within our jurisdictional of the town. And then the Wetlands Protection Act, the DEP number that you've just gotten is looking at under the Wetlands Protection Act. So separating that from our local bylaw.
Well, that wasn't my question, mine was, you have a superseding order.
It's expired.
Which expired.
So he's gonna close that out.
So, right, so so what you're saying is that you don't think you should ask this DEP for a COC on the superseding order?
Yeah, Denise, we'll do it,
No,
but
no,
Denise Child said it
but that's
wasn't
where I'm a
necessary.
little confused, so you don't think you have to do that? Because if it expires, it just disappears?
I don't know about that,
Well,
because
that's what
it's
he thought.
recorded.
Ms. Child didn't seem to think it was necessary, but again,
Oh,
she's willing to do it.
That's what he's saying that.
She's
because
more than
the-
willing to do it.
I think that's just the cleaner way,
Yeah,
and I
which
don't
is
see
fine.
how it releases the record that's
Right.
on,
I have no
at the
issues with
registry without a certificate.
that. But I mean,
But she already gave you a DP number and she knows everything about it, so she doesn't, maybe superseding versus the regular, to the town is different.
Steve, I wanna make sure everything is done to your satisfaction, but I also wanna know that, I don't wanna come back and say, hey, we can't do it this way. If your town council gives you any guidance, I assume we're going to another meeting, anyway. I didn't think you would wrap it up here tonight. You meet every 2 weeks, so I don't think that's
Well,
problematic for us.
Right, so.
And I can
Well,
explain this project, and if you want to do a site meeting, we can make sure that takes place. I don't come here often. I will accommodate you more than you can imagine, or whatever you guys want. You know, the goal is to assuage your concerns that, you know, we're doing this project in conformance with the rules and regulations.
So if we're starting, you know, from scratch, so I want to get permission. Do you want to treat it like it's a new filing? So should we hire we hired a consultant before.
You did?
And you looked at, and you reflagged it. Should we rehire
So-
a consultant to look at the wetlands, and then do you want to, or just because we hired BSC Group 12 years ago, 14 years ago? So do you want to take what the record has and some of the comments? I mean, some of
I
the
don't
comments.
know if we
I feel
can.
uncomfortable.
I don't know if we can take the record.
All right, so those.
I'm not sure.
I think we should start
Typically, you typically don't. He has an active permit with our local bylaw. He can exercise that. This is only if we don't wanna discuss our local bylaw. Because there's a likelihood that there's gonna be some pushback on that 10-foot versus our 25-foot no touch.
I mean, we've tried to provide all the information that we provided 10 years ago, but it's a new board. And you know, everybody evolves in their thinking on these things.
So that would leave the Wetlands Protection Act regulations, which allow for filling up to 5,000 square feet with replication. So,
And we're not filling any BVW.
so that's where we would be, that would be what we would look at if we weren't going to entertain the local bylaw. Because it's still an active permit. So, and you can ask town council if we're looking back
I
in
don't
our
know what to-
files
I'm-
to see the
Yeah, 'cause
history
I'm
of the
asking how to-
lot.
What's the proper way to proceeding, right?
Yeah.
I'm confused on the whole.
I'm
thing,
not.
So I would say that
Is that-
it's,
It's really, if you think about it, when the Commonwealth, you know, by allowing towns to have their bylaw, you issue 2 permits on every project. You issue a permit under the Wetlands Protection Act, under your regulatory authority there, and you issue a permit under the town bylaw. If one expires, it doesn't mean the other one isn't still valid. So the town bylaw is valid with all the terms and conditions within it. So we're just here under your regulatory authority, under the Mass Wetlands Protection Act.
So from now to, how does the commission want to proceed? Want to proceed from, review it, it's a new filing, and
I
do
would-
you want me to send this out to have the Equitech review the wetland delineation and get a proposal from them?
I would get a
And-
proposal, yeah.
And then
Yeah.
do a site walk on
Yeah.
the 14th,
Yeah.
as because we're
Oh,
setting.
that's right, we got one already.
We got one already. Is it possible to have the property line, the property corners and
For the house corner.
Yeah, I'm not
house
gonna, I mean,
corners
so briefly,
staked
the
out?
rear part of the property, there's nothing going on there.
I have it up here on the screen here,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, you can see it, that's where the house is, that's pretty much where the house is going, right in that location.
Yeah.
You can see some of the flagging that's out there, but I will make sure that the house corners are all set for you, so you'll be able to see it.
And did you propose check dams
In,
for the drainage well?
in a nutshell, it's a 1-bedroom home that we're proposing. We are making sure that we have a retaining wall in the rear to minimize filling and grading in that location. The roof leaders from the house are going into flow diffusers, so we're infiltrating the groundwater from that. We've got screening vegetation at the limit of disturbance, which is, northern white cedar and I think some parkland. The rest of the property, is gonna be left untouched and will adhere to any terms and conditions that the commission has to leave that alone. I will tell you, I didn't put it on here, multiflora rose is a real problem in this wetland. So this wetland is less than 8,000 square feet in size. And it's fully isolated. Not the problem, but the reason it's bordering vegetated is because there's a culvert underneath the driveway that goes into a stream. So, and then there's not another wetland for hundreds of feet. That stream is a straight channel through backyards that you'll see on your site visit. But it does meet the criteria, so, we've identified it as BVW on the plan. The interior of it, a lot of multiflora rose. It would not be a difficult invasive management procedure to do a cut tree and replace that with winterberry and highbush blueberry and really improve the value of that wetland. I think Mr. Whipple would be more than willing to do that as a mitigation measure. Again, if it will help the Conservation Commission gain some comfort with this project, it would, you know, really improve the overall value. So I don't have that on the plan, but if that's something you're would consider, we gladly incorporate that.
So the property lines, yeah, you know, when I went out there, I noticed I measured from the, you know, maybe I'll show, I took a little video. Let's see if I can find the right one here. So this is the corner, it must be the point of tangent corner.
Yep.
So I put the stake to it, and so I measured to that first wetland flag there, 813. I came up, I'll speed this up a little bit. 48 feet. So
That's A3.
You mean A3 or A13? Because A13
Yeah,
is the
813 is
back.
way down
oh,
there. No, I think
A3.
it's A3.
Was it A3?
Yeah.
A3 is the first one.
Yeah, 8-3. So I have 48 feet. So I just started looking at the 50 foot, because you have the 50-foot zoning
The front of the house is at 50 feet, probably, right?
at 50 feet. And, you know, there's no stakes on, did you survey it in? Did you survey?
I'm not
it?
surveying, so I'm a wetland biologist.
Right.
Nyberg Associates is the
Right.
survey. So, and they're not here tonight, so if there's, you know, if you want
So,
that.
I mean, I might be off a little bit, when you
That's
look
fine.
down, the line from, so these flags here, if this flag is at 50 feet,
Yeah,
and the structure that has to be the front of the house.
that's 14 to the back.
I know, it's skewed a little bit, but
Again,
how does it fit in there? I mean, it looks like the survey, it looks like the West Street, the property line goes into West Street.
Yeah, if you look
It's
at,
showing it
if
as
you look
going
at
into
this.
West Street.
Right here.
The edge of
Yeah.
pavement is within the property.
Right.
I
This
know
is the
that.
50
And
right
the
here.
edge of pavement scales at 63 feet from A3.
So I don't know what that stake was that you scaled from, but again,
Well,
if,
I think it's this, I mean, this plus, I think it's this one here, it might be that.
yeah, all I can,
And then it's 15 feet, I think I measured
Oh,
from
that's
here,
like
I
a
measured.
tangent.
Yeah, the tangent, I measured.
That's right at 48.
48.
Yeah,
that's
so
what
it
you
must be
had,
that
and then you
curve.
added the 15, so. Again, whatever you want, Steve, let me know, and I'll have Nyberg make sure it's done unfaithfully.
Well, I think for the
They're the land
commission-
surveyors, so
Yeah, I
they're
think-
the ones that are gonna, stamp it
I
as
think
accurate, not me.
Just put the other tangent in,
Okay.
and then the corner, the four corners of the house, or how many corners you have.
6 corners.
What's your opinion on all of the plantings up to the BVW line behind the house? Do you think that it would be best if we just did a fence versus all the plantings, like so close, disturbing, like potentially,
It adds a couple of feet to the limit of disturbance.
yeah.
Again, this was the plan that was approved by this board, and that was a concern at that time. I always prefer leaving natural vegetation natural and doing the
I
fencing where
mean,
possible.
we're not replicating any wetlands, so I get concerned when we're like, you're trying to
Right on
plant
top of
something
it,
and,
yeah.
you know, it doesn't seem so necessary. It seems like very important to prevent anyone from further encroaching. I don't know why we would disturb more
Any
by
further
new
than that.
plantings.
Understood.
I would probably be open to something else other than disturbing another, 5 feet and getting
To
into
finish
the
our
wetland.
Previous thought, are we doing the sidewalk or no?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we were gonna do the house corners,
Okay.
right?
And
Yeah, that's fine.
6 corners.
And that's the 14th.
And we had BSC, was
Yeah,
it
we said the
BSC?
14th.
Yeah.
Were you there when?
I have it in the file, but
Well,
I
we
was
had-
there,
We had
yeah.
BSC review the wetlands once before.
Uh-huh.
Do you need another third-party consultant to review it again?
Should
Right.
we do our site walk first
think
and
it's-
then,
Yeah.
if it's clear cut, then, and
Right.
everybody's
That makes sense.
in agreement, pretty much. You said it was expanded slightly, right? from the previous
You
plan.
know, yeah, but that's what it, yeah, I mean, you don't
Slightly.
know my
So you
staff
didn't survey it
biologists.
in, you flagged?
Oh, no, Nyberg surveyed it in.
No, but you flagged, you
We
flagged.
just delineated the wetland. We
No, but you-
redelineated the wetland.
When you delineated the wetlands and they surveyed the flags?
Yes, sir.
And you were pretty that close? So they didn't survey the flags in?
They did not.
You flagged it and then they surveyed the flags? Big difference. 'Cause
We treated it as a new project.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're close to what you did 14 years ago?
Correct.
Okay. That's pretty good, because some engineers would take the old flag and they'd survey the flag and hung it to where it was approved. So to me, that means he did it blind.
Correct.
They surveyed it and he kind of matched up within 2 feet what he did 14 years ago. And then
Correct.
BSC, I don't really have too much issue then.
I think that if there's something glaring that when we get out there it looks off, then maybe we can re-discuss. We can revisit the peer review.
What time would you like me there, Madam Chairman?
We're going to 10 o'clock in Laurel Glades. So I would say 10:30, 10:45?
11?
Let's do 11. What? Sorry.
Or earlier.
Like between 10:45 and 11. We'll be there.
I wasn't kidding. This is, my house is literally a mile and a half from the Douglas border. I don't know why I don't do more work here. This is so easy. This is the closest town hall I go to.
Not a lot of traffic in that area
I
either.
go up 96 and I go to Main Street and I am here. I live off Hill Road in
Okay,
Butterball.
so this is a 316, or 314 rather, walk as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
Yes, sir, you had a question?
There's a existing home, right? There's an existing home, I heard something that was confusing, but you have a house on this property.
No, there's no home on this property.
Oh,
No.
That's a proposed home.
There's a proposed one-bedroom
One-bedroom.
dwelling.
I did hear something wrong, okay.
Okay.
Never mind.
Yeah, sorry.
It was previously
What's the size
approved.
of the home?
Do you know the square footprint, Jonathan? This- Jonathan.
36 by 24
24 by-
minus 100.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
24 by 26 and then times 10 by 14. So we've got, there's also the flow diffusers are also very close to the wetland area.
Mhm.
We've got the plantings that I don't see how, technically speaking, how we can be planting up to the, BBW without something bad happening right here. I'm not really sure.
Are you, would you prefer a rain garden as opposed to the flow diffusers? I mean, again, that was that was back 10+ years ago before we,
Well, where would it, so the 50, and I like to see the 25 on here also, because, our bylaw does speak directly to that.
Sure.
And we got the check dams on the swale.
What about the check dams, I'm sorry?
Are you gonna add those on that swale as, recommended by DEP? Did you see the recommendations on the? That was the only thing that she said, actually.
Did she say that in there? Okay.
Use of check dams, commission should consider the use of check dams within the proposed drainage swale to reduce runoff
Sure.
velocities.
And we may not want the flow diffusers, we're gonna discuss that.
It's just that they do require maintenance, I think a little bit more than, a rain garden.
Agreed.
So, maybe we move those plantings to the rain garden. Do we think that a 4-foot-high split rail fence is a deterrent for any creeping? Is a good enough deterrent? Okay. We got add the 25-foot.
Have replaced the plantings with
Used to
fence,
be
4-foot
that,
split rail, show the 25, add a check dam, and rain gardens
A
instead
lot
of
of
flow
the
diffusers.
structure will be within the 25,
Yes, so
which is
Oh, yeah.
right
pretty big
now,
no-no.
right now they have an active permit for, in regards to our local bylaw, that is allowing them to get to the,
9.
Get,
yeah.
Actually, it's like 12 under the old wetland edge, that's why I did
Yeah.
that wetland edge. I can show you the old plan if you.
No?
So you're actually a little off then on your active.
As Steve said, my wetland edge was 2 feet greater, 3
Mhm.
feet greater.
Okay.
And again, that's within the delineators.
Well,
Yeah,
Different delineator.
Well-
I mean, it was Joe McHugh who did it
Well,
originally. And
But,
Well, technically, it doesn't match the Douglas permit, but,
right,
that's what I just said.
oh, is that what you just said?
Yeah,
Okay.
technically. Anything else, board? You guys are looking at that, right?
I am looking at it.
We have a paved driveway.
It's bituminous.
Mm-hmm.
Is that not preferred?
Huh?
Is that preferred?
I'm just asking for the board's opinion. We're within, so the 50
I mean,
to
if
the
I was
25.
Re-reviewing this from scratch,
Yes.
I'd say move the house closer
To,
the road.
So you need a variance.
so
Oh, God.
in the
Away from
past,
the wetland.
the ZBA did grant something
Okay.
for,
That's the thing, without knowing the history, I mean, yes, if I was looking at this fresh, I'd say move the house close to the street.
well,
We
we
also have the
can,
issue with the septic that's kind of driving.
I see that.
as well.
right, so we do, I believe, have to look at this fresh.
Okay.
With the exception of there's one part of it that is an active permit. But we do need to look at this with fresh eyes. We've got the boulder wall.
Mm-hmm.
So no stockpiling on site, no machinery, unless we do a designated area.
There's a riprap swale on the right.
Yeah, they've requested, DEP suggested check dams for the velocity.
They requested riprap in 2006.
No,
Okay,
they requested check dams right now.
okay. Okay.
So,
Riprap's already out of fashion.
so that can be, I'm not sure what's happening on that side. Or
Okay.
What
cable
side?
doesn't work either.
No.
The existing drainage, is that coming off the street there?
Yeah, yeah, we can look at it when we're there, and if the engineer feels it can be a vegetated swale, no problem.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I would agree with that. Anything else, board?
Are these stairs?
Yeah. This denial here,
Yes.
this
It's
date 2009 to 20,
into the-
2010.
That's the door the house goes
dates
this
in
way.
there.
One second,
Okay.
1 second. So
Sorry.
Mike has a question. He's saying the denial, so then they appealed our denial to the DEP, to the state, and the DEP
Okay.
issued a superseding order of conditions,
You see that part in here.
stating that they did meet the thresholds, right, the presumption. I didn't read anything from before, but I'm assuming, the presumptions were, DEP disagreed with the presumptions.
This was a superseding order. I didn't own a copy of it. I've been looking over this one. Yeah.
So, but I think that we need to look at this just as it is, and, we have some preferences now that maybe they didn't have back then. We can't unknow what we know, but, yeah, this was in 2009, so I wasn't
Mhm.
quite here
Got
yet.
it.
I
Okay.
think I was maybe even an associate,
Okay.
not positive. But I do
It was a
remember
it was a long
I
time
do
ago.
remember it was a lot of meetings.
Well, it
I don't
started
know
in
who
2000,
came.
it started in
Started in
2006.
06, yeah.
I would say
06.
there was like, 20 meetings-ish?
Probably.
They're all listed in the back of the
Oh,
denial.
It's a
Yeah.
thing.
There's
It's
a, there's
thick
a,
packet.
timeline.
okay. So are we good, board, for, a start?
Can I have a time on the 16th?
I'm gonna open it up to the
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep.
audience
No, sorry about
first.
that.
It's okay. This is a public hearing. Anyone in the audience have any questions or concerns about this? No? No? Okay, all right,
He's gonna request the continuance.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's gotta come from the,
what are you talking about?
is he requesting one for the 16th?
What?
I am requesting, we're past the 21 days, I assume.
Right.
You've already signed something.
Yeah.
No, but, go ahead.
Again, we request a continuance to the March 16th meeting.
So what is this? An extension to the 21-day
No, so-
timeline.
No,
Once the hearing is held.
The board cannot continue a hearing. It has to always come from the applicant.
That was an extension to have the hearing.
That was extension to
Oh,
have the
okay.
hearing. So-
Okay.
Right. So can you put that in writing?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I'll send it to you. I'll send it
What
to
are
you
you
tomorrow.
saying? I don't understand what you're trying to say.
Technically.
Is it too late for me?
No, technically, the board cannot, when there's a request from the hearing, the board
For
cannot.
what hearing?
We cannot continue the hearing to the 16th without the permission of the applicant.
It's very true.
It
If
has
I
to
don't-
Didn't you already say that you want, and I said, wait a second?
No, but
So
he'd
I
like it in
asked-
writing, because this project has a history. I understand keeping everything, you know.
Okay, do you need a scrap piece of paper?
Oh, I'm gonna email him, is that okay for tomorrow, if I email you
I think we want it right now.
Yeah, if you can do it now, that'd be great. Just write it out. Quick.
all kinds of stuff.
Actually, can't do both.
Trust me.
This is what I went through so many years ago. Oh, what's today, 3/2?
Indeed, yes.
3/2/2020.
Everything in there is continuing hearings. Oh.
That rule seems to be selectively applied.
Yes.
It is, yeah. You,
It's funny how
if,
that works.
I
if,
mean, we have things continued a lot, I think, before the respondent requested. This is a comment, you don't have to respond. He's complying here anyway, so.
We used to have the sheets, but I guess whoever used to do the sheets didn't do them anymore. We used to have sheets on hand.
They used to have sheets on
Mhm.
hand, yeah.
right.
I'll have to have some more.
Some commissions make you do it before you leave.
Yeah.
Before you leave, you exercise.
It's not, even if we could approve it, it could get denied by abutters. We could deny it, it could get denied by, appealed by the applicant. It could get appealed by anybody. So it's not just, even if the commission approves it, it's protecting the applicant.
Let me see what is
Because-
written here. Do
I even
not
tried to print
continue.
properly.
Because the neighbors could appeal it and then say, well, we never got anything in writing or officially.
Okay. All right. Or you want to stay all night, or?
No.
Okay. This is the applicant's authorization to continue the hearing for DEP file number 143-0988 until March 16th, 2020. So we are accepting this request as a board, and I'll entertain a motion.
To accept the request
And
What time do I need to
and
be?
continue until March 16th.
at
I don't know.
8:30.
Well, we have, 8 is Oak Street. Do you wanna give that a half hour?
I would do 8:45. Let's do
Okay.
8:45.
8:30? No, 8 is Oak Street. You wanna give them 45
Yeah.
minutes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, appreciate
So
that.
Okay,
8:45?
motion's been made
Seconded.
and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Do you have one quick question? May I bring the revised plan that night, or do you need it ahead of time? I just
Well,
got-
we like it ahead of time,
Yeah.
if
And I'll
it's
give- I'll give
ready.
you some comments
Okay,
also.
okay. I've got to push the, Nyberg to get it done, but I'll leave.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Okay, we have 8 PM, and it's now 9:15. Public hearing, Orange Street, Jeff Inman. Is anyone, oh, okay. Alright, I didn't really see you there. The Common Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing for Jeff Inman on March 2nd, 2020 at 8 p.m. in the Municipal Center, 29 Depot Street, for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and the Wetland Protection Act, Mass General Law 131, Section 40. The proposed work location will be done on lot number 1 Orange Street and involves proposed construction of single-family house, septic system, and appurtenances. Proposed construction activities are within the 100-foot buffer zone of the bordering vegetated wetland. Do we have an address?
Yes, we do.
Thank you.
It's 19 Orange Street.
Thank God.
So
Got it
lot
today.
1 is also known as 19 Orange Street. Okay.
All set?
You need a-
Okay, and green cards?
Green cards. And a couple didn't come back. I have them right there.
Okay, and name and address,
Oh.
please?
Okay, for the record, Margaret Bacon. I'm an engineer with Civil Site Engineering, and I'm here representing my client, Mr. Jeff Inman. And we're here tonight requesting a permit to build a single-family house on a 5-acre lot on Orange Street. And just to get your bearings, here's Pine Street, and then here's Orange Street. And there's one vacant lot right here, and then there's this 5-acre parcel right here that Mr. Inman's in the process of purchasing. And so what we've done, here's the big lot, and we're actually building the house and the septic right up in this front corner. There's somewhat a large wetland complex on this property, and there's just the outer fringes that I have flagged right here on the 20 scale. So here's the property line. I've got the house and the septic hugging this corner of the lot. Yeah, as you can see right here. Here's the 50-foot buffer zone. Here's the 100-foot buffer zone. So we're out of the 50-foot buffer zone. I have some work activities with between the 50 and 100, the house and the septic, and then the rest of the work is in the outer 100-foot buffer zone. And Steve had several comments that I tried to address on this plan here. He wanted the shortest distance to the wetland, which is the limits of work is about 50 feet, 50 and a half feet, due to grading. I've also, what else did you want there, Steve? I updated the Form 3. The driveway will be the asphalt grindings. A foundation drain is on the plan here. And some of the trees, actually, there's a couple of large trees out front. And then Mr. Inman will be going before the planning board because this is a scenic road. Some of these trees he wants to trim. And then there's a lot of small saplings and smaller 12-inch trees within this area right here. I didn't locate them all, but when the surveyors were out there, he did locate some of them.
Photos here.
Back up and run
It's a nice property.
You using
Yeah.
the break in the stone wall for the driveway?
Correct, and he's gonna have to just enlarge it a little, because it's not very big. But he is gonna go before the planning board, the scenic.
Road.
Right.
I mean, it's a lot of all pine, even the wetland.
Yeah.
The herbaceous layer,
It's pretty young too, huh?
pine, I mean,
Oh,
There's an
yeah,
old
yeah,
farm.
yeah, that,
It's an old farm not that long ago.
Looks pretty flat, too.
there's,
Not much flat
I mean, that
land
resource,
at
what's
all.
feeding that
All the rocks are
wetland?
cleared out.
It's just, is it isolated?
well, no, actually, if you go out here, it does connect to this one over in this property here,
Oh, okay.
so,
So here's the wetland right here, you know, there's a lot of forested wetland in the middle of it, you know, a lot of pines in it.
Right.
Probably good gravel in that area, maybe?
yeah, actually, it had a perk rate of 6 minutes per inch.
Right.
And it gets wetter, obviously, the more you go this way, and then it spills over into this property here, and it's only when you have a lot of rain, otherwise it kind of looks isolated, but.
What's happening with an intermittent stream? Is it just a channel? Is that what you just said?
Well, you know, actually, I
No,
looked up the,
I looked it up too, yeah, there was,
Yeah.
What?
it was perennial, but it dried up, they declassified that section of it years ago.
yeah, so we got it as intermittent way
Yeah.
back when, but then like you said, we're outside the 200-foot anyways.
Yeah,
So-
so I was just
but it-
wondering, there's no BVW associated with that or anything? Back
No,
there.
Within.
It's kind of like a channelized.
It's a regular stream,
Yeah, it's
perennial
like-
stream,
yeah.
on USGS map.
Oh.
Yeah,
It flows good,
Oh.
but they had it
but I got a lot of pictures, I was looking at it
I looked at the
today.
file, I thought it was north of that, but it was just a small section for,
Well, years ago, it was these people right here, the Colettes, who hired us to do that wetland delineation, so we were to, and so, yeah, we followed that, from the culvert down.
so if the any stream is designated intermittent, which is 100 feet, or perennial, and it's all designated by using USGS map. If you've seen the green map, if it's a dark blue line, perennial. Light blue, intermittent, and that's what the DEP uses for designated perennial streams. In the regs, intermittent streams dry up, perennial streams don't. But if perennial streams dry up for, is it 5 consecutive days, or
Reclassified it.
5 consecutive days?
I think it's
or-
3
or
consecutive
Three
days.
consecutive days without any significant flow.
We
During
watched
a
them with the
non, during a
satellites to check.
non-drought
And the
designated
watershed
period, because now
associated with.
they have multiple drought designations, like 5 of them used to be yes or no. You can classify it as intermittent. With
And we did
the-
classify it as
you
intermittent
did
back
at
then.
and that, just that section.
From the, actually from the culvert, somewhere down,
Yeah.
down to the property line, this lot here.
Am I-
So we're 200 feet away anyway.
That's
so
correct.
I just, sorry, I didn't mean to get off track. This,
I have a quick question. It's
Sure.
Just, it's outside the construction limit, but it's a proposed shed, it's not there yet, it's going to get there?
Well, we put it on the plan, actually, I just, anything, I told Jeff, anything you plan on doing, might as well, should put it on the plan now.
Yeah.
So sometime in the future, he probably was gonna put a shed in there, and I kept it outside the 100-foot buffer zone.
Yeah, I can see that, it's,
Yeah.
okay.
Looking at the site plan on the top right, was there any consideration to putting the house on the right side of the property where it looks like there might be more?
This is a GIS wetland. Actually, there's more wetlands up here than that shows. It's too bad, because he's got an awful lot of frontage right here,
Right.
but there's a lot of wetlands there.
and then also with the proposed driveway location, swapping the house with the drive to get the house out of the.
Well,
Well, actually, no, because you've got a side setback of 25 feet.
right, and then this, make it work with the septic and,
So what's the purpose of like the long driveway? Why not just have, your 25 feet to pull in? Or do you have a garage under, or why are we pushing it all the way?
I just made a little turnaround, that's all that is, where that stockpile,
Mm-hmm.
well, you don't have the latest and greatest.
That's okay.
Yeah, it was just so he could, back out and, so you're not turning around on the street, It is a drive under.
Right, so we've got the whole house is pretty much in the jurisdiction versus moving that house outside. Is there
You're just saying we could snug the house in a little bit if that chunk of driveway was a little shorter?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if there was a reasoning on that.
How long are cars?
Well, like I say, I like to have this
Parking
driveway
spaces.
long enough so that a car can park there,
Well, just, you couldn't widen the driveway to the left?
Widen the
Is
drive-
there's grading and stuff there? Is that what?
Right, and I try to keep the driveway 10 feet away from the property line.
Yeah,
Just
the
as
whole
a
briefing
practice.
is driveway
Yeah.
accessory.
This is the house.
Correct.
Small house.
Yes.
Yeah.
36 by 32.
Correct.
Looks like the same house as the one
It's,
bedroom.
it's pretty flat too, that whole area.
No, it's definitely bigger than the one we saw
Look at
before.
it.
A little bit.
It's all flat and.
Okay.
Which one's the property line?
Pretty long, 35 feet long.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
inner dark
it-
lines.
So,
yeah, the
and
stone
then-
walls.
We're also looking at that construction limit. is pushed to outside of, to within the 50. So could you talk to that point, why we're going, I see some grade lines,
Well,
but,
only just, yeah, for grading, I suppose I could have tweaked it a little more, I just kinda, you know, little wiggle room, but.
I'm just bringing it up to the board.
No,
we've
I'm not
got
saying, if we can
some
scooch
space
it in, we
here.
should. Absolutely. And we've got a deck within the 50, or within the 100 as well.
Just because if we authorized, you know, within the 50, then it becomes like the 40. Or the
yeah,
35.
I
So over the years, it's just, you know, as we start, you know, when we start the project, we probably should be thinking that there is going to be some encroachment and creep like through the years on the property.
I would agree with
Yeah, it
shifting
should be 50.
the structure towards the property line.
Yeah, we think that the driveway section could be shorter there, 'cause it looks like that driveway's as big as the house.
Okay,
We
I'll-
can go a little bit that way.
Yeah, let me,
Looks
yeah,
about
I'm gonna take a look at that, if I can move it, I will.
36
Okay.
feet.
Might have been-
Thank you.
I'm not sure if there's a reason I have it there or not,
Okay.
it's just not jumping out at me.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, that's what I would be thinking because you've got 36 feet of length on that driveway plus your driveway coming in, which is, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, all
but-
right, well, let me take a look, see if I can, I'll leave the turnaround, but try to move this
Yeah.
back a little,
The
all right?
turnaround's
Just-
fine, it's non-jurisdictional.
Shift.
And board, what are you thinking about that 50-foot and the erosion control limits? So he's got clearing, there is a well line and a well, but he's got clearing, you know, away from, you've got some grading there? Oh, it's flat here.
Right in here, just a little grading. And I can move this erosion control, so I'm right at the 50,
Yeah.
and I can
Yes.
tighten up that grading a little more.
Yep.
Because he's still gonna, you know, you'll still have this whole front yard. We're not gonna say anything about that portion where the well is located. Just I know you were asking for this whole, like there's a proposed shed, so I guess
That's just
I'm
somewhere in
trying to
the,
think. So you're just extending that erosion control.
yeah, that shed's not going out, we
Okay.
just put that
Yeah,
there for,
that's, yeah. Okay, board, do we have any comments other than Steve's and what we've discussed? You did run down this list, right?
yes, I did, I
Okay.
addressed all those comments.
Okay. And the trees that you're showing on your new plan are all outside of the jurisdiction that
The
you're
ones that I
removing?
picked up with the survey, the large trees are these right here, and then there's several smaller, and then a lot of saplings within here.
So Steve had noted any trees to be removed on the site, so you
Well,
included all
actually,
the ones
well,
outside the
well, you know, when the
jurisdiction.
surveyors go out there initially, you know, you don't know where anything's going
No,
at the
you
time.
don't. No, you're right.
So, but you know, we're gonna go out there and we're gonna stake the erosion control limits in.
Yeah.
And so when we do that, I'll have him pick up any large trees, greater than
Over.
12 inches, okay? And put those on the plan.
12 inches. I thought you did 4 inches the last plan.
Well,
Those are
inches or
saplings.
caliber?
Yeah, caliper.
Oh, that's a big tree.
Okay.
Yeah, 4, there's a lot of saplings out
Yeah,
there.
a lot
It'll
of
be out there
saplings.
forever. It'll be just green dots all over the
We
place.
did that to the people who were next to the water.
Plantings is,
We-
shouldn't that be
well,
planted?
12 inches
You know other
reasonable.
towns do that.
Yeah, I know.
So, okay, so yeah, that's fine. The 12 inch.
Plenty of trees on the lot.
Yeah, we don't really need to know about the ones outside of the 100 though.
Okay.
But thank you.
That's all I have.
Yeah, that's all I had. Does this count? Okay, all right. Board, do we have any other questions on this? Do we wanna add this to the list of viewing on that Saturday? Or we wanna go at our leisure?
Leisure for me.
Okay, alright.
They wanna be done by lunch.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's getting a little crazy. Okay, any other comments on the plan? Okay. Good, good, good. Okay, anyone in the audience have any questions or concerns in regards to this application? Nope, okay.
Now, the only other thing, now, obviously, we're still waiting for the DEP file number.
Yes.
So our client, my client there, is planning on purchasing this property before the next meeting. So do you envision any other major concerns other than what we discussed tonight?
No, that's why I
No.
gave the board a final.
Okay.
Do you have anything? Speak now. I think that with the minor tweaks, and being a little more conservative with the house placement, I think that will be, the best that we can get.
Okay.
And protective. We don't wanna see anything at the 50, right? For the 50-foot buffer as far as designated limit of encroachment.
Now that you say that.
I like 50, we use it a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I keep everything out of the 50.
No,
Yeah,
I mean,
that
do we-
erosion
do we
control.
want anything there? Like, do we want a preliminary plans or a stone wall or a chunk of boulder or a planting arrangement? Decorative shrubs?
Or a sign.
The signs never work. I don't use the sign. Could we consider something? I'm only saying 'cause back here, I'm not worried because this is outside the 100, but I'm worried because you've got a presumably like a front yard out here. It's already going out here. We're making sure to tuck the erosion control within the 50. Do we want to somehow designate to the homeowner that, hey, that's the 50?
We would prefer landscaping, plantings.
Sounds
Okay.
great.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, only, Katie Grace,
Yes.
here to here.
Correct. Agreed.
Yes, just
Where?
where it
So-
touches the 50.
I
Yes.
think you just draw that.
Where it touches
So
the
I'm
50.
thinking-
So it's like a semicircle.
It doesn't need to be everywhere.
Here to.
Sure.
To here, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Excellent.
Okay,
That's it?
do we need a request from the applicant to continue?
She has to request, you wanna
I'm asking to continue while we wait for DEP.
Okay,
Okay?
alright, and we'll be at the site at our leisure.
I'll have the form typed up for next meeting.
If you wanna submit,
We
just fill in the
the
blanks.
plan as
Yeah.
soon
Bring
as
the
you
dates.
can,
Signature sections.
that would be good.
Yeah, we should have some.
Do we make a motion to accept her approval to continue?
No, I'll
Okay.
entertain a motion
To continue.
So moved.
to
Second.
continue
To
to
continue.
9 PM.
9
Yeah,
PM.
for,
9 PM, okay.
19 Orange Street.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
9 PM on the 16th?
Yes.
Correct.
So, before we adjourn,
Yeah,
we're gonna
what-
keep that policy of not going past 9 and if another project comes in.
We're not adjourning. What are you talking about?
Before, no.
Are we going to schedule people after 9 PM?
I would say no.
So if any, I'm
I
gonna
would
tell
say
Maria,
no.
any new filings
Push
come
them to
in,
the
we're gonna
next
push them
meeting.
off to the next
Correct.
meetings, right?
Okay.
That was the policy in the
Yes.
past.
Okay, sounds
Let's
good.
do
That
that,
makes a lot of
cause we
sense.
may start to get
Should be
busy.
here all night.
Alright,
We used to.
so let's,
I remember.
let's get rolling here. So we have 8:15 PM, request for determination of applicability, public meeting, Massachusetts Electric Company. Hold on 1 second, please.
Was it not 8? Which day, please?
The Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting for Massachusetts Electric Company, MECO, on March 2nd, 2020 at 8:15 p.m. in the Municipal Center, 29 Depot Street, for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and the Wetland Protection Act, Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40. The proposed request for determination of applicability work location is along road layouts near 265 Wallum Lake Road, 192 Walnut Street, and 106 Walnut Street, and the applicant is requesting permission to relocate 2 existing utility poles and install 4 stub poles. Okay, thank you. Name and address, please.
My name is Heidi Graf. I work for BSC Group, and I'm here representing Massachusetts Electric Company, doing business as National Grid. We have submitted an RDA for the installation of 6 utility poles along the existing distribution line right-of-way for the 320 W2 feeder line. The activities are part of a larger maintenance project required to interconnect the AMP Solar DG battery storage system at 281 Wallum Lake Road to their existing system. The locus map that was included shows all of the removal and replacement poles in jurisdictional areas that are considered exempt maintenance under the Wetland Protection Act and the Town of Douglas bylaw. So the ones that we're here for are the ones that aren't considered, the ones that are part of the formal RDA are the ones that are not considered exempt maintenance under the Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Douglas bylaw.
Mm-hmm.
Table 1 in the application lists out all the details of the 6 poles, the streets that they're located next to, the resource areas that they apply to. So there are 2 poles located within the 200-foot riverfront area associated with Hemlock Brook and the 100-foot buffer zone to BBW along Wallum Lake Road. Pole 58 is going to be a relocation, so we're filing that because it's being moved greater than 10 feet from the original location. There's 1 tree that will need to be removed with pole 58. National Grid Forestry has identified a dead oak behind the location where it's staked, so that's the only tree that is slated for removal along Wallum Lake Road.
So I can just, if you want, you guys want to see the videos? I have 4 videos.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, if you don't want me to keep
Exciting.
going. I don't have to keep going.
very exciting.
I mean, just so you can real quickly see the sites, there's no wetlands on this side where you're
Correct.
doing the trees on Wallum Lake. This is right by the terrace entrance. There's a little wetland on the other side. Here's the entrance to the terrace down here. So I didn't really flag this when I asked for an RDA. It was really for Tinkerville Brook.
Mm-hmm.
I know everyone's
Sort of
got-
Within
like
the
country
100 is the opposite side of the road.
drainage.
Yeah, so on that side where the poles are
Swale.
going, I didn't really have too much of an
Okay.
issue.
So the stake was the proposed pole?
Yeah.
Yep. So they mark the locations for where pole 58 is going to be relocated, and then the stake for the stub pole 5750. Those should both be in there. I know I included a picture of those in the packet.
What is this stub pole?
It's just one that has like the main pole and then a leading pole.
right
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's no wetlands on that side of.
I'm
Right.
sorry, it's not a stub pole, it's a
Poles,
mid-span pole, so it's just gonna be a regular pole, just to hold the new lines.
It's a whole week. It's some
I
terminology,
know.
it's very exciting.
Yeah.
So the poles along, there are 4 poles along Walnut Street. Pole 350 is going to be a mid-span pole. It will be in the 100-foot buffer zone to BBW, and that will also require a tree to be removed. This was a declining
What pole number was that?
350.
I didn't see-
3-50.
I didn't see that. I got 23-50, which is.
The
there's pole-
Tinkerville Brook.
Well, no,
Or
this is a
20.
little wetland off of Walnut.
Yep.
So, did you find 4?
I think that one is 23, is that 24,
23.
50? Yeah.
Is that a relocation?
Yeah, that pole is.
That
over-
one's gonna be a new, the one that just showed is a mid-span pole.
And then there's another pole right here. You can see the stake coming up.
Yeah,
I can
so that's 4.
It's for the new house.
I zoom into it. So that is 2350.
Yep.
So the pole going there, and then there's
So those are the exempt ones though.
are they?
No, those 2350 and pole 24 are not exempt. They're within your 10-foot no disturbance zone for utilities, and they're
Oh,
close to
I thought we were
BBW.
on 3-50 and 4. So. So
24 and
23-50 is right on the wetland.
As is 24.
24 doesn't seem as close.
Oh,
Yeah, there's
If you're
more of a- there's
looking
more of a slope.
Page
Yeah,
3.
there's a little bit of slope here.
Are you on page
Here's
3?
24.
of 3?
This
Yeah.
is 2350 right
Okay.
here.
So
Poles
23.
pressure treated?
2350?
I'm not sure of that answer.
That's
I can find out.
2350, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And 24 is on the other side. This is 24. 24, what, are you moving it from here to there?
Oh.
24.
It's more than 10 feet away. That's why the relocation.
Correct. That's why they're relocating it
This is for the solar farm?
for AMP Solar. They have to upgrade their distribution line.
It's temporary disturbance, typically.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I mean, we want people to have electricity, especially out there with all wells.
So that, those are those two poles,
Mm-hmm.
and
So yeah, there was 3 within that area on Walnut Street. There was the pole 24, which is the relocation, and then the midspan pole 2350, and the midspan pole 2450. And then on Walnut Street, pole 350. I don't think we saw a picture of that, but I
I
can
have,
opposite.
I have, oh, this is 13, so I
Yeah.
didn't do the,
So the other two are
Long
opposite the
poles.
wetland across the
Pole-
street.
I think those ones, there was no tree removals required, so I
Okay.
think they were,
it's just the beyond, it's probably beyond 10 feet. This is
For-
next to
let me
pole
see.
13.
13.
And then the last one is,
Listed.
Wallum, this is Tinkerville Brook.
Back a page.
So this pole's getting,
What ones were you?
Tinkerville Brook, is that, pole 8?
Pole 8. So I don't have those ones listed as being jurisdictional, so if they're replacements, then they're less than 10 feet from the pole location.
Okay. Okay, that's it.
And there is a, oh, that's a walk. And you're gonna notify Steve before any work begins?
Yeah, how far
In
in,
these jurisdictional?
how far in advance would you like to be notified?
Couple days.
Okay. And did you want to inspect the sediment controls?
Sure.
So,
Yeah, that'll give them a good heads up.
yeah, I'll have them notify you. Inspect.
You thinking straw bales or straw wattles?
I think they typically use straw wattles, but they also include the straw bales as an option. It depends on the conditions.
Okay.
Is there a preference?
I don't think so. I mean, I would say that, the wattles are fine. Cord, do we have any questions about this upgrade in the forest of electricity?
They're already on the
No.
road, so.
Okay.
I like electricity.
You like electricity?
I do.
You like to have it all the time?
Yeah.
Can we go
Yeah.
underground instead?
Some
We do
towns
wireless.
The
I
entire
imagine.
Midwest does that.
But then there'd be like sparks of electricity in
Oh,
there.
yeah. It'll happen eventually, some kind, low voltage maybe. I'll entertain any motion that anyone wants to give me at this time of night.
I make a motion to issue a negative determination of applicability with the standard conditions and the condition that we contact Steve in advance and to put up the erosion controls.
Inspect.
Inspect the erosion
He might,
controls.
he could help.
It's
Put them up too
inspecting them.
if he's feeling like he needs
I'll
to get
second.
access.
Second.
Everybody wants to second it.
All those in favor?
Alright.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
When could I expect to receive?
You can say, call Maria
It might be
tomorrow.
typed up tonight.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
I think.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks
If
for
not, they
waiting.
can-
Oh, of course. It gave me time to prepare.
Ah,
Thank you.
Is it, did you have this to be signed for?
no, I do not. So, request for an extension permit for order of conditions for Alan G. Riley. DP number 143-0920. Did you have a date on that? So we have, it's expiring April 3rd, 2020. They are requesting to extend for the 3-year period to April 3rd, 2023. Does anyone have any questions or objections to the extension? No work has begun there.
Why?
No.
Why no work has begun?
No, why are we extending it?
Because they haven't done it, any work.
But we said they could.
3 years, yeah, they probably, it's just.
What do you mean, we said they could do the work?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
they
there's
have
a-
something.
There's an order of
Well, there's-
conditions.
yeah, there's
We're
already-
just
it's a
extending
subdi-
it because they didn't get to act on it yet.
Correct.
Okay.
They're probably looking for a buyer.
Yeah.
Still.
You know where this is?
No.
When you just.
I know where Hunts Pond is.
You come out of here, you take a
Proposed
left, you got the
extension
waterfall,
subdivision.
the old Schuster property, that's it. It's a subdivision.
So this could be for an additional 3 years?
Correct.
It's a subdivision plan.
Subdivision plan, yeah. There was a
I haven't
plan.
seen it.
So,
It backs up on Brookside Estates.
bottom line is they haven't developed anything.
And
They
this
haven't done
would
a thing.
be the only,
They're just looking for an extension.
extension that they could have.
Single family
I believe so.
development.
So we are
So
allowed
these are-
to extend 3 years only,
Yep.
Yeah.
one time.
What happened to the second,
So you're gonna give them 3 years or one? Are they asking for 3?
They're requesting 3.
oh,
Might as well.
Yeah.
okay.
Instead of coming back 1, I mean, literally no
Yeah.
activity has started, so let's just say we were in the middle of a project and maybe we wanted them to hurry up and finish, then you give them a 1
Right.
to, you know, have them keep in touch with us. Other than that, I mean, literally nothing's been done, so you might as well just give them time to do it. So,
Standard procedure.
I'll entertain a
3 is
motion.
good.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we grant a 3-year extension to the order of conditions for 175 Main Street.
Alan G. Riley.
Second.
Alan G.
Motion's
Wright.
been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Oppose? No? The hearing's going to. Okay, we can sign that now. Since Steve's located this one. Do you have any other ones that we can?
Certificate of
No,
compliance?
no, I was gonna have that.
Oh, you want that one?
No, I'm kidding. I get mine.
Is this the next on the list?
Yep. 149 Davis Street, request for certificate of compliance. DEP number 1430715.
So this is, this is his as-built. This is for going out on Davis Street. This is right on the Uxbridge line. I asked him to put the right on top of the proposed, but Murphy, they didn't get back to me, so you can wait, or you, what this was is, all the work is just from, here's the 100-foot buffer. There's a wetland across the street. You'll see from the video. All this is outside the jurisdiction. And this was a, I don't even know if it was a notice of intent. This was, remember, the DEP changed it where they had a expedited permit process for work within the buffer zone.
No,
But,
we've got a DEP number.
okay, so they
For-
filed for work pretty much from the beginning of the driveway. Here's the video here.
So it's like abbreviated order for limited work. Limited, scope of work. What the heck is it called? Okay.
They had an order of resource area delineation.
When did you take the video? Oh, it's right there. I was trying to figure out where we were.
So there's no, so the wetland is associated across the way. Right?
Across the street.
Across the street,
This
so
is- This is
you're
a,
catching-
this is actually part of an old rad,
an
and
ORAD.
it's a simplified review.
Okay,
Remember that
simplified review, no.
So,
Do they still have that?
there was something that the DEP came up with.
What year was this?
Probably 6 or 7 years ago.
Well, it's a 715, and we're at 987. It couldn't have been that old. So, board, you've seen the video. You've seen so we're jurisdictionally here, which is the front of the driveway and a little bit of the
2006.
parking, snow storage is within our jurisdiction. I don't see any erosion happening. 2006?
Yep.
Oh, wow. So, it was issued originally in 2006 under an ORAD with a simplified review of, must be buffer zone, just parking lot area.
There was a thing where if you delineated wetlands with an old rad and you had a minor project, you could get approval. There was an approval process back then.
Okay.
When there was minor activity.
So I'll entertain a motion
Excuse me, but there's, wetland over here?
There is.
across Route
And-
16. And there's one back here as well. That's still wooded.
Oh, that
Right.
was my question, why there was
Yeah.
a 100-foot buffer drawn that way.
Thank you. Steve, you wanna take this?
Several
Oh.
wetlands.
Oh, you found it. Good.
I'll-
Board, do we
I'll-
have any other questions?
You wanna do you wanna do that? You're waiting on
I think I was waiting.
that. Okay.
You didn't get a new
No,
plan,
I
right?
didn't,
Cause I
no.
didn't remind anybody.
No.
Okay.
Does it get a full
Yes.
compliance, or is this not a partial kind of thing?
No, it's full.
No, it's fall.
Okay.
You saw, oh geez. You know I'm the one that keeps hitting your corner, right?
Oh, it's not working?
Yeah,
I
it's
can't
fine
tell.
now.
Something-
I'm looking at the video, I'm
It's
saying,
fine until
boy,
you
it's a
touch
good
it.
looking
Keep
video.
going in
Yeah, I
and out.
keep, the cord is near me.
We're gonna buy a cord, but chairs
Whoa,
came
stop, that's
first.
it.
Stop touching it,
It's there.
stop touching it. Thank
You
you.
got it, you got it.
Oh, let me-
So board, I'll entertain a motion. If you would like to.
Make a motion to issue this certificate of compliance.
For,
Joseph Taddei, 149 Davis Street, DVP number 1430715.
oh, okay, motion's been made,
Second.
seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Great. We're gonna skip over the next one, certificate of compliance. Signed vouchers, I see a voucher in here for $1,456 for a peer review. I thought, the applicants were paying for the reviews,
Let me see it.
not out
was
of
that?
our wetlands protection fund, for the solar farm.
Yeah,
Yeah, so the, let me, I'll,
they are.
Okay, so let's hold on that,
I
just find
I
out.
think it was just, let me talk to her. She might put the check into that fund and then just gonna,
Okay,
that was approved by the,
But still, like, we shouldn't sign it
If you
unless
find
we
out
know
the
that.
answer, I'll sign
and
it.
then you'll
Right.
sign it? You wanna
Yeah.
sign it and hold, want me to hold it? Or you want me to find out the answer?
No, I wanna find out the
I've
answer.
asked her about that, so I'm pretty sure, but
I wanna find out
we'll
the
sign
answer
it,
first.
we can sign it, if you vote, we can sign it on that Saturday, or we can wait 2 weeks.
Yeah, we gotta meet in 2 weeks.
I'd prefer if it's done correctly.
These are,
I
Brad,
believe,
they're all the same.
yeah, I'm 95% sure, but I believe she put it into the fund and then
Okay, is that the proper way to do it?
she's going to, not the
40,
general.
the 53G
Account.
review account.
Right.
So, yeah, could you just double check on that, please? And then I've got 2 more to sign, the, Mass Electric one and,
Yep.
the PEPKA one for the tree removal on Whitin Res.
Can I get a working pen from that jar?
I mean,
Oh, you need a working pen
A working
too?
pen, yeah, one actually
Where'd you
writes.
pull this out of?
yeah, they're all those,
That's
Non-working pen
Mylar
back.
kind of things.
like, I told myself I was doing the wrong thing, well, it works now.
Okay.
No, this one's not there.
Kid, maybe,
And then we've got, approval of minutes. Do you wanna wait till the next
Yeah, I would
meeting?
wait.
yeah,
Yeah,
I looked at, I
nobody's seen
reviewed
it.
one of them.
I was good with January 6th.
Do you wanna make that motion?
Well, I had a question, just a brief question.
Yes?
There's a first name of a gentleman that was working for D&B Home Improvements, but we didn't have a last name. Usually we have a full name. This guy, his name was Dennis, so he's only listed as Dennis.
Under which item?
The 7 PM item.
Dennis of D&B.
Yeah, and I don't,
We have the login sheet.
We'll have to check it.
Yeah, usually I thought you were attaching that. The attendance record.
So you didn't put that on there?
No, I don't think I've seen it in a
but other than
while.
that, it looked good to me.
Okay, so we'll
I
just
don't
hold
think
that
they
till we
said
get
she
Dennis's
looked
last
at it.
name.
Yeah. Everything else looked okay.
Okay.
The other one we just got tonight, so I don't think anybody's had a chance to review that one.
Okay. All right. Any other unanticipated
I just have a
topics?
quick question.
Yes?
Kind of a dumb question, I'm sure.
That's okay.
What's the difference between a public meeting and a public hearing?
You wanna take?
Sure. So a public meeting is you have to notify the abutters,
Public hearing.
or a public hearing, you notify the abutters,
Okay.
and you advertise in the paper. In a public meeting, you don't, it's a little less requirements, so you don't notify by certified mail the abutters, but you still place an ad in the paper saying that you're coming before the board.
So the public's still notified?
Primarily,
Yeah.
direct butter notification is not required for a
That's the
public
biggest
meeting.
And when we do our hearings, we give a specific date that they advertise to, and we notify the abutters to show up at 7:15.
Yes.
And
Thank
the
you.
RDA, public meeting's a little looser, so we don't have to really stick to the time frame, as long as they show up at the meeting, because you're not notifying the butters, you can, if it was designated on our agenda for 8 PM, and we're free, we can have them move them up to
Sure.
7:30.
And
But I'll,
statutorily, it's
but
a
I'll get some,
requirement under Wetlands Protection Act,
I'll
so
look
that
that up
tells
though,
us.
to see how accurate I am on it.
Oh,
You're in the
it
general
kinda makes
ballpark.
sense, yeah.
And it's,
It's less formal, a little less formal.
yeah, the regulations
Yeah,
require
it sounds like the board has a
specific.
little more flexibility on how they hold the
Not-
hearing and the
not the- not the-
time-wise.
And also, I don't need to ask the audience any question. Obviously, if somebody's like raising their hand, then
Yeah.
but they're not, the input is not needed.
Made a very nice
But it's still, our RDAs are still permits though, so we still have control over what we issue, even if we issue a
There's
negative.
no expiration on the RDA.
Oh,
That's another thing, yeah. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, everybody.